subscribe, like the video, and, if possible, join Patreon. But if you don't have much money, you can support the channel by watching the novels on euroaudiobooks.com. Remember that you can participate in the polls so that your favorite novel gets published for free.
Synopsis. P transmigrated to the Hunter x Hunter world, became Zoldyck. Killua, and awakened the entry system. Not only can he use terms to gain extraordinary talent, but he can also plunder other people's entries to strengthen himself infinitely. Merewon, God's alibi, purple. Kubi, God's left hand, devil's right hand, purple. Neferpitou, toy repairer, gold. Nion, angel's automatic notebook, red. King Meruem, Devour, evolution, black. World tree, black. While gone, Leorio and others are still struggling for hunter passports. Killua has become the super killer god that everyone fears. /P Chapter 1. The assassination begins and the entry awakens. Killua, this assassination mission is for you to carry out. You must complete it as quickly as possible. On a six-winged flying dragon, 1,000 meters in the sky. Zeno put his hands behind his back, hunched over, and the embroidery of career active on his chest was very eye-catching. Got it, old man. Killua squatted on the dragon's back and looked down at the ground. There was no change on his face. His posture and expression exuded absolute confidence and calmness. This is the 11th year since Killua traveled through the Hunter x Hunter world. There is still half a year before the Hunter x Hunter drama timeline. 11 years ago, he was reborn as a baby in the Zoldyck family. After various trainings, now, like the original Killua, he not only has an impressive talent, but has also become a genius killer who has experienced hundreds of battles. Brack City, a luxurious villa, is built on the mountain. The owner of this villa is named Lafayette. When he was young, he was involved in the black industry to accumulate original capital and then transformed into the real estate industry. He is a famous rich man in Brack City, but the mall is like a battlefield. His ruthless means of making a fortune have made him too many enemies, and someone hired Zoldyck for a high price to kill him. Lafayette himself has no combat ability. He is just an ordinary person with a good business sense. The only thing to pay attention to is the professionally trained bodyguard team around the villa. Of course, this level is nothing to Zoldyck. This is also the reason why Zeno will let Killua complete the task alone. Get ready. Get to the destination immediately. Zeno stared at the front with a very sharp gaze, and his eyes showed the calmness of life and death. The six-winged flying dragon hovered above the villa. When it was still 30 meters away from the ground, Killua slowly stood up on the dragon's back, staring coldly at the bottom, and then jumped down from a high altitude. At the same time, outside the two closed tall iron doors of the villa, the two guards looked up at the sky at the same time. Hey, what kind of monster is that above your head? Wait, it seems that a white-haired boy fell from above? The guard looked up and was stunned. Killua fell rapidly from the sky, waving his hands, and his sharp nails like blades instantly cut the throats of the two people. Then there was no stopping. With his extraordinary agility, he jumped onto the high wall like a civet cat. The guards in the villa courtyard just noticed it, and before they could sound the alarm, they were stabbed through the chest by a sprinting knife. Killua's speed was so fast that people couldn't see clearly, and his moves were decisive and deadly. Corridor living room. The entire villa defense force was quickly slaughtered by him alone, and in a moment, the ground was covered with blood. What's going on? What happened? Villa monitoring room. Looking at the corpses all over the screen, the drowsy guard immediately pressed the emergency alarm button. Lafayette opened his hazy eyes in the sharp alarm. He glanced at the courtyard through the window, grabbed the pistol hidden under the pillow, and quickly found his own private guards who had been hired at a high price. Tampa, someone broke into the villa. You must find a way to ensure my safety. Lafayette's voice trembled slightly due to nervousness, and beads of sweat appeared on his forehead. When he was young, he was also fearless and fearless. But as he got older, his power became greater and his wealth increased. He became more and more afraid of death. Don't worry, boss. With me here, there will be no danger. God Tampa swallowed his saliva, comforted him with his mouth, and began to curse in his heart. He just wanted to make some extra money as a bodyguard before the hunter assessment began. I didn't expect to encounter such a thing. But just when the two were thinking about how to escape with a serious look, a chill suddenly rose from their spines. Dongba and Lafayette turned around suddenly and found that a white-haired boy had come behind them without knowing when. At this moment, it was as if ants were stared at by a huge monster. A breath of death, like a cold tide, quickly permeated the two people's bodies, even if the opponent was just a boy. But it was only a moment. Dongba, who was extremely sensitive to danger and insidious, immediately pretended to bow his head and said respectfully, "Private Marseille, please let me go." Dongba. Killua raised his eyebrows slightly. He didn't expect to meet the guy in the original book who liked to bully novices the most in the hunter assessment. "You monster, die!" Seeing Dongba actually gave in directly, Lafayette cursed him as a waste, took out the pistol from his waist, and pulled the trigger at Killua. The bullet sprayed out from the muzzle like a tongue of fire. But what was shocking was that it seemed as if he could predict the trajectory of the bullets in advance. Killua dodged left and right. Not only did he not take a step back, but he quickly moved forward in the face of the rain of bullets. The next moment, Lafayette felt as if he was being clamped by an iron clamp, and then his head was forced to spiral in a way that went against his physiology, and blood splattered everywhere. At the same time, Dongba, who had previously bowed his head and showed weakness, suddenly changed his expression and took out a dagger to attack Killua from behind. But as a time traveler, Killua knew Dongba's character. He liked to use realistic acting skills to pretend to be weak first, and then frame his opponent when he was not prepared. In a flash, Killua dodged, then tiptoed forward and rushed forward with his right hand like a knife, stabbing out like lightning. So cold. When my heart. Dongba looked at his left chest, which had been opened at some point, and then looked at the beating heart in Killua's hand and felt real fear. "Give it back to me. Give it back. Give it back to me." Killua's face was full of indifference. He clenched his right hand and crushed the heart directly. Dongba wanted to struggle, but his body was completely out of control, and he could only feel everything helplessly. Killua's sly smile, when crushing the heart, also became the last memory of his life. Although I once teased Dongba as a hidden master of hunter, he is just a supporting role after all. Killua wiped the blood on his hands without much emotional change. Hunter x Hunter world is different from Blue Star. This is a world where the strong survive, and it is a dangerous country that is extremely close to the law of the dark jungle. This world has no mercy, does not allow saints, and human lives are worthless. It is full of death and cruelty. Weak. Here, you can't even choose how to die. After packing up everything, Killua turned around and prepared to leave. But suddenly, he found a green entry and two white entries falling directly from the top of Dongba's head to the ground. At the same time, the system prompt sounded in his mind. "Ding! Congratulations! The God-level entry system has been activated. Found entries: lucky green, insidious, white, strong white. Write a niche fanfiction. I don't know if anyone will read it. New book released. Please give flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 2. A great gift pack for beginners, with black entries at the start. This is a system? Killua was startled. His eyes were not frightened, but full of surprise. Although Tongzi arrived a little late. But it's better than nothing. Moreover, he was already gifted, and with the system, it was really like a tiger with wings. System. Introduce your abilities. Killua calmed down and asked in his heart. Ding. This system is called the item looting system. Outstanding talents in the world will have their own exclusive items. The function of the system is to strengthen yourself by killing enemies and looting items. Items are divided by color from low to high. They are white, green, blue, purple, gold, red, and black. Except for red and black, items of the same color and the same attribute are divided into 4 strength levels: low, medium, upper, and top. While introducing, Killua began to appear in front of his eyes. Name: Killua skills assassination entries. Invulnerable to poisons, lower level blue. Electric resistance, middle level blue. Chosen killer red. Invulnerable to poisons, lower level blue, able to resist various poisons without being harmed by them. Electric resistance, middle level blue, the cells in the body are able to cleverly channel electric currents and have extraordinary resistance when facing strong electric shocks. Chosen killer red, stable mentality, exquisite techniques, keen judgment, quick response, and extraordinary physical fitness. You have all the necessary qualities to become a top killer in your bones, and you are destined to become the world's top killer. I actually already have a red entry. Killua's eyes lit up. He knew that these entries represented talents or certain traits. No wonder all the enemies who beat him called him the one with the best qualifications ever. About the entries. Among them, the white entries, although the lowest level, are not the qualifications that ordinary people can have. The owner of the green entries is already the best among people. Blue entries. Reaching this color can be said to be rare among the rare. Purple entries, gold, and red are basically abilities that ordinary people can't even think about, or even unheard of. As for black, although there is no introduction in the system, but since this color is ranked at the top, the ability must be incredible. Of course, the entry only represents talent and ability, not absolute strength. As long as the operation is proper, the blue entry may also be able to counterattack the gold entry. A simple understanding of the system. Killua moved away from his panel and turned his head to look at the dead Dongba, the great god. Lucky, green intermediate, you have good luck, and you have a chance to escape danger. Sly, white lower level bad character, but a little clever. Strengthening, white intermediate physical talent exceeds that of ordinary people. I see. No wonder Dongba, although his strength is vulnerable, can survive more than 30 hunter assessments by chance. I'm afraid it's the effect of this luck entry. He's really lucky. Killua blinked. After the awakening system, he found that the world in front of him had completely changed from before. Not only Dongba, Lafayette also dropped a green entry for being good at business, and some of the guards before also had white entries. But as time passed, all the entries that fell on the ground began to flicker, as if they would disappear at any time. The dropped entries are probably time-limited. The entry will disappear after a certain time. So what are you waiting for? Entry plunder. Killua looked at the green lucky entry and began to grab it. Although this lucky entry is only green, it can help you escape danger at dangerous moments. It is a life-saving skill. As for the physical strength white, which increases physical talent, it belongs to the lower level of natural killer gold. Lafayette's green business entry is useless. As long as you have strong strength, you can spend endless money. But if you don't have strength, no matter how much wealth you have, you can die at any time in the hunter world. Ding! The first entry plunder is successful, triggering the novice reward. After integrating the lucky entry into yourself, the system sounded again. Novice reward automatically opens. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. Traveler, black, and unique. Congratulations to the host for obtaining the basic none gift package. Traveler, black, and unique. As a traveler, you do not belong to the present, the future, or the past. So no one can spy on your past and future. No one can view all your memories. Cause and effect cannot lock you. FK. Black entry. Killua took a breath of cold air. This novice gift pack is too good. It actually gives a black entry directly, and the ability is simply outrageous. The Hunter x Hunter world is not a world where you can only compare who has the bigger fist and who has the stronger power. There are many conditional ability users. As long as the conditions are met, it is basically equal to winning. So information cannot be spied on, and memories cannot be viewed. Cause and effect cannot lock you. This is definitely a heaven-defying skill. At the same time, after the black entry is integrated into himself, a thin needle suddenly appeared from Killua's forehead. This is Ilmi's mind needle. When was it left? Killua was a little confused. He knew that this needle was put in by Ilmi to protect himself. The main function is to make him consider how to retreat when facing a strong opponent, rather than defeating the opponent. In other words, just like that weird mother. Because Killua is the strongest talent in Zoldyck now. The entire Zoldyck family has an almost perverted love for Killua. Basic Nun gift pack. This is also the ability I need most now. Looking at the second reward, Killua was very excited, although he had wanted to get in touch with Nun for a long time. But in order to lay a good foundation for physical skills, the entire Zoldyck strictly required him not to get in touch with any Nun training. It's just the Nun gift pack. Killua didn't open it and try it now. He knew very well that the old man Zeno's Nun circle was a terrifying 300 meters, and he must be witnessing his every move. Now is not the time to practice. With the entry plunder system, my strength can definitely reach an incredible level. Don't even mention surviving in this dangerous world. In the future, it is not impossible to venture into the Dark Continent and obtain those heaven-defying gods that can prolong life, cure all diseases, and automatically generate electricity. Looking back on what he received today, Killua was very excited. Even the top killer, walking by the river all year round. The most worrying thing is the fate of the Dragon Slayer, who will eventually be slaughtered. At the same time, I traveled through Hunter x Hunter for these years. Killua knows better than anyone. In this cruel world where life is cheap, if you want to avoid being killed by others, you can only become stronger and stronger than everyone else. Only in this way, your life and destiny can be firmly in your own hands. New book release. Please give flowers evaluation votes and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now, activity time, October 1st to October 7th, Chapter 3. The second function of the entry. None can also plunder. Sky. Zeno was standing on the six-winged flying dragon, scanning the entire villa with None. The moment Killua walked out of the villa, Zeno frowned slightly and instantly caught something strange. Although he didn't know what was wrong, but with years of experience and keen killer intuition, he could clearly feel that Killua had changed. It's different from absolute that tightens and isolates the whole body's breath, and it's not hidden that makes it difficult for the opponent to detect the state. This kid is now like a layer of mysterious fog shrouded in a layer of mysterious fog, making it impossible to see everything about him. And he shouldn't have mastered None. After Killua jumped from the roof of the villa to the back of the bird, Zeno quietly covered his eyes with his own ki, trying to explore what changes had happened to him at close range. But the result was still the same. It was like facing a bottomless pool of water, and no useful information could be detected at all. While Zeno kept speculating in his heart, Killua's eyes began to appear Zeno's data panel. Name, Zeno, skill, assassination, entries, natural-born killer, gold top, dragon head playing painting, gold top, poison immunity, purple intermediate, electric resistance, tracking, torture. Although the color level and number of entries do not necessarily represent the absolute strength of that person. But ordinary people who have 1 or 2 entries are already outstanding. Seeing so many entries, Killua was also very shocked and moved. I can only say that Zeno is worthy of being the head of the previous generation of Zoldyck, and he is indeed not comparable to ordinary people. My poison immunity entry is only blue lower level, but the old man has reached the purple level. This poison resistance is simply outrageous. From this, it can be seen that some entry abilities can be improved through training. But the killer cultivates the talent entry, and I have reached the red level, which is stronger in talent. Wait, dragon head playing painting. Seeing this entry, Killua was stunned. Isn't this Zeno's None? Isn't it also an entry? Then, if I have the ability to plunder, wouldn't it be equivalent to having the same stealing ability as the leader Krallo? And it has no side effects at all? This is too abnormal. Killua's breathing became rapid. This ability that was so powerful that it was beyond imagination made him both shocked and excited. He suppressed his excitement. Killua held his head with both hands and pretended that nothing happened, saying, "Old man, the mission is perfectly completed. Don't forget to transfer this reward to my account after you go back." Zoldyck is a very peculiar killer family. Even members of the family pay attention to money transactions and equivalent exchanges. This mission was completed by Killua, and he naturally got a share of the commission. Well done, kid. But although the mission was completed, there were still some places that were not handled cleanly enough. When you finally found the target, you hesitated for a moment. Listening to Zeno's words, Killua scratched his head because he met Dongba, a familiar figure. He did hesitate for a moment just now. Zeno narrowed his eyes. Killua, you must remember that there must be no hesitation during the mission, no matter whether the target is strong or weak. Your heart must be as cold as a stone, without any mercy or hesitation. The enemy will not give you a chance to regret, and life will not. As a professional killer, every time we make a move, it is a life and death decision, and we cannot afford any mistakes. Zeno slowly turned his back. His slightly hunched back looked a little vicissitudes in the moonlight. Otherwise, even a moment of negligence may cause you to fall into an abyss of no return. Same as other people in Zoldyck, because Killua is the strongest talent in Zoldyck at the moment. Zeno also pays special attention to and cares for his growth. Killua is naturally aware of the cruelty between life and death. I understand. I will be more cautious in the future. The Republic of Batokia, Dentora region, the Kukra Mountain, 3,722 meters above sea level, is not only a famous tourist attraction, but also the territory of the world's #1 assassin family Zoldyck. Master Killua, welcome home. When Killua pushed open the 2 trial doors that weighed 16 tons together. In the courtyard, Zoldyck's chief butler Wudong has been waiting here for a long time. Wudong wears a pair of golden glasses and is very good at following orders. He is a person who is cold on the outside but gentle on the inside. Behind Wudong, butler trainee Canaria and doorman Jibarong also saluted slightly. Zeno put his hands behind his back. Wudong, are Ilmi and Koluto back? Wudong, Master, the eldest master and Master Koluto are not back yet. Zeno nodded. As an assassin family, all Zoldyck people often have to go out on missions, and family members often spend less time together. At the same time, the guard dog that was originally majestic and huge in the yard like a small mountain, after seeing Killua, it instantly restrained its usual ferocious and brutal appearance, bent down obediently, and quietly lay on the ground wagging its tail, like a child eager to please its master and begging for caress. Samao, did you miss me? Killua gently stroked the huge furry head, and his face was also very enjoyable and comfortable. He stroked the big dog. Killua hurriedly left. Grandpa, I'm going back to my room first. After the mission just now, the blood stains on his body have not been cleaned up, and the nun gift bag has not been opened yet. It's really anxious. In the hall of Zoldyck's mansion, a silver-haired, middle-aged man is leaning on the sofa. He has a cold face, a tall figure, and exudes absolute power and a suffocating powerful and sharp aura. It is the current head of Zoldyck Silva. Zoldyck Silva can open all the trial doors of Zoldyck and has a terrifying force of more than 256 tons. He once hunted down the 8th member of Phantom Troop and made Phantom Troop give up revenge on his own initiative. His strength is beyond doubt. Father, is everything safe? Seeing Zeno coming, Silva slowly stood up. Zeno pounded his waist and sat down beside him. There is nothing unexpected about the mission. But, if I'm right, the needle left by Ilmi has been pulled out by Killua. Hearing this news, Silva's calm face was slightly surprised, and then showed an extremely relieved expression. Whether it is the white hair like Zeno and Silva, or the killer talent that exceeds everyone, this means that Killua will definitely become the next generation of Zoldyck's head. This is a fact that everyone in Zoldyck, including the eldest son Ilmi, tacitly agrees and respects. So Silva's attitude towards Killua is completely different from his attitude towards his other sons. His family's operation direction is also completely centered on Killua, and he wants to pave the way for a smooth handover. Has the needle been pulled out? Killua's growth rate is beyond your and my expectations. Silva leaned back on the sofa excitedly, wanting to continue asking some questions about Killua. But at this moment, a strong and completely unfamiliar aura suddenly appeared in the Zoldyck territory. New book release, asking for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day on the 11th. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 4. Nin Gift Pack. Awaken the Black Entry again. System. Novice Nin Gift Pack. Open. After returning to the room, Killua washed his body and directly opened the second Novice Gift Pack. Ding! Novice Nin Gift Pack automatically opens. Congratulations to the host for obtaining Basic Nun. Chanju, Lien Fa. Congratulations to the host for obtaining +1 chance to upgrade the entry, which can enhance the existing entry. Upgrade entry chance +1? Is this Novice Nin Gift Pack so good? Thinking, Killua looked at his data panel again. Name, Killua. Skill, Assassination. Entries, Chosen Killer Red. Invulnerable to all poisons, lower level blue. Electricity resistance, middle level blue. Lucky, lower level blue. Is there any doubt about this? It must be the killer entry that has been upgraded to red. Tongzi, Chosen Killer Red, chooses to upgrade. After making the choice, Killua's ears heard that familiar voice again. Ding, upgrade successful. Chosen Killer Red has completed the upgrade. Congratulations to the host for obtaining a new entry. God of Killing, Black. God of Killing, Black, you have an unparalleled killer talent in the world. The speed of Nin training has increased tenfold, and each system can play a 100% effect. The next moment, a strange black light merged into Killua's body. In addition to the increase in talent again, his extraordinary temperament and appearance also became more transcendent. Comfortable, another black entry. Nin training speed increased tenfold, and each system can play a 100% effect. Killua opened his eyes wide and was shocked by the reward again. As we all know, Nin is divided into 6 major systems. Starting from Enhancer, they are Enhancer, Conjurer, Manipulator, Trait System, Emitter, and Transmuter. Because everyone's qualifications, personality, and growth environment are different, everyone belongs to a different system. None can achieve twice the result with half the effort when practicing in accordance with their own category. Otherwise, the effect will be worse. For example, a Conjurer ability user will get 100% effect when using Conjurer moves. You can use the adjacent Enhancer and Manipulator moves, and the same chi will only have an effect of 80%, and the effect will be even worse when using Emitter and Transmuter. The most classic example is the Sky Arena. Hua Shi Do Lang. Hua Shi Do Lang is an Enhancer nun with extremely strong attack power. But he blindly practiced the clone ability belonging to Manipulator and Emitter, completely adding the wrong points, wasting his Enhancer talent in vain. Use Chi to surround the cup and send a thought. In this way, you can judge your category based on the changes in the cup and the leaves. Killua quickly took a cup and filled it with water, put a leaf in it, let his mind focus on his hands, and began to perform the water viewing style identification test, accompanied by invisible breaths condensing from Killua's hands. The amount of water in the cup first increased slightly, then ice crystals appeared, leaves began to move, and the color of the water changed. Sure enough, all the characteristics of the system appeared except the special system. At this moment, Killua was very excited. If each system can play a 100% effect, that means I can have the explosive output and defensive enhancer, the weird flexibility of Conjurer, the long range of Transmuter, the control of Emitter, etc. The most important thing is that there are no side effects and restrictions. Such a terrifying talent. Even if I don't plunder other people's none, I can also develop myself to a level beyond ordinary people. Put the cup aside. Killua stood up excitedly and began to try the 4 basic elements of none. Entanglement, absolute, training, and release. Not only humans, beasts, insects, trees, all living things will emit life energy, which is the so-called ki. Entanglement is to wrap the ki around your body through the mind. Increase the density of the ki around the body so that both attack and defense can be enhanced. First feel the ki, then control it with the mind. Killua closed his eyes, calmed down, and immersed himself in the exploration of himself. For a moment, it was as if some kind of barrier was broken. He clearly felt the ki that was there and not there, flowing slowly in his body. Not just ki. The touch of wind blowing across the skin, dust scraping across the palm, and the slight tremor of muscles. These kinds of information that were previously impossible to capture with the naked eye, he now feels them clearly. As Killua used his willpower to bind the outflowing ki throughout his body, he was like wearing a thin and flexible coat, and at the same time, a far greater strength and sense of security emerged from his whole body. This is ki. What a wonderful feeling. Feeling the unprecedented strong power under the effect of entanglement. Killua's eyes revealed surprise and determination. After entanglement, it is to practice, training, and release. Use a stronger mind to stimulate the potential thoughts in the body, and then release the thoughts out of the body. The next moment, after drawing out the ki in the body, I saw a strong airflow like a jet, instantly sweeping around Killua. Dust flew up under this airflow, and the surrounding air also whistled slightly. At the same time, Killua's muscles trembled slightly, and an even more incredible power surged from his body like a tide. He clearly felt that every cell was cheering, as if it was endowed with endless vitality and potential. Looking at the tall and hard wall in front of him, Killua had a feeling, now as long as he put his palm on it, the center of the wall would shatter in an instant. No wonder only none can defeat none. Can you master the use of chi? These are two completely different worlds. Killua was both excited and nervous. He clenched his fists, trying to control and harness this powerful force. After Lien, and it is Ju. Use your will to tighten the aura nodes and completely cut off the loss of chi. This will not only keep you in 100% condition at all times, but also speed up the recovery of your physical strength and energy. As he entered the Ju state, instantly, it was as if he was strangled by an invisible giant hand. Killua instantly became the same as normal, and the powerful airflow just now disappeared without a trace. At the same time, two figures appeared outside Killua's door like lightning. It was Zeno and Silva. New book released. Please give me flowers. Please give me evaluation votes. And I have monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading during the National Day holiday. Top up 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Top up now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 5. Appearance: the most talented person in Zoldyck's history. Strange. There was a strange air just now. Why is it gone again? Zeno looked around Killua's room, frowning. To enter the Zoldyck family, one must pass through layers of checkpoints, and there was no sign of fighting in the house. He also didn't think that someone could escape silently after breaking into Zoldyck. That left only one answer. Zeno's eyes slowly moved to Killua. Silva was more decisive, directly stretched out his right hand, and used practice to release telekinesis for a pressure attack. The next moment, buzz! A visible air wave surged from Silva's body with overwhelming force. Under the impact of this air wave, Killua only felt as if he was suddenly in a stormy sea, surrounded by turbulent and violent waves. Ordinary people cannot be safe under the impact of air. Because of the body's instinctive reaction to danger, a gas automatically emerged from Killua's body, wrapping him like a raincoat. You have awakened now. Silva looked at Killua with surprise and joy. It was you who emitted the gas just now? Zeno raised his eyebrows, feeling more and more confused. Killua, when did you learn then? Since it has been exposed, he naturally wants to gain greater benefits for himself. As the next head of Zoldyck, the stronger his talent is, the more everyone pays attention to him. What is none? Is it this kind of power? I just feel like there is a kind of flowing air in my body, and then I control it. Killua said while using entanglement to condense the gas in his right hand, knowingly asking. For a while, Zeno and Silva were silent. Generally speaking, the way ordinary people awaken Nin is to practice hard under the guidance of mature Nin masters through meditation and sitting meditation, and then learn step by step. Or a mature Nin can directly inject ki into the body of a non-Nin, forcibly opening up the ki channels so that they can feel the existence of ki. There are people who can use none without any practice. but it is almost zero. Those people are geniuses among geniuses without exception, and are even called rulers, superpowers, and immortals by the world. You can awaken none and master the use of ki without anyone's guidance. You are worthy of being my son. Silva's eyes sparkled, full of pride and pride. Let alone ordinary people. Even after many geniuses awaken their telekinesis, it takes a long time just to accurately control the flow of ki. Like Killua, he condenses and hides ki casually. Without the guidance of elders and hard work, it is basically impossible to do it. Although Zeno was also very shocked in his heart, but his eyes were very calm. First of all, talent does not represent the final achievement. Secondly, he did not want his shock to make Killua feel complacent and arrogant. As a killer, once you have a conceited or even arrogant mentality, you are basically not far from death. Zeno said in a deep voice, "Killua, starting from today, I will be solely responsible for your training. Before you pass my test, you must not practice any none." Before that, Zeno would not allow or even guide Killua to practice none. In Zeno's view, none is just one of the weapons, at best an auxiliary tool. The sooner you can use none, the more you rely on none, and physical skills, various killing techniques, footwork, and escape techniques will not be trained. Especially for teenagers, they will definitely be addicted to none. But when they meet an opponent of equal strength, it is often the basic abilities that they pay the least attention to that can save their lives. But now, since Killua has awakened none and has such an amazing talent, then Zeno naturally has to help him and practice the best. For Zeno, who can develop cool tricks like Dragon Star Group, Killua was full of anticipation for the next training and nodded quickly. "Okay, old man, I will definitely practice seriously." At the same time, in another Zoldyck mansion, the housekeeper Wudong was reporting information to a tall woman with electronic eyes. This woman, dressed in court plus technology, is Killua's mother, Kikyo. Zoldyck. In the Zoldyck family, each housekeeper has his own direct leader. Silva is the leader of Yuin and Zybonian. Kikyo is Wudong's direct leader. After listening to Wudong's report, Kikyo said excitedly, without anyone teaching, "Zyoki has awakened none. I didn't expect him to grow to this point. He is indeed the strongest talent in the history of the Pondyke family." For Killua, who is gradually growing into a top killer, Kikyo even began to scream excitedly, with a perverted excitement and joy on his face. In the deepest part of Zoldyck's mansion, a short old man is leisurely drinking tea. He basically doesn't communicate with people at home, nor does he participate in any family affairs of Zoldyck. He is completely in a state of retirement, although he is sitting in the backyard, but he seems to be able to sense everything happening in the front yard. The short old man muttered, "There is really a monster in this generation of young people. Such qualifications. I am afraid it will be a matter of time before he surpasses me. If Killua is here, he will definitely be very interested, because he can see clearly." This short old man, named Maha Zoldyck, has a dazzling red entry on his head. New book release. Please give flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Read books every day on the 11th. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 6. Explosive Improvement. Take my Raikiri. Zoldyck Training Ground. After discovering Killua's nun talent, Zeno made a strict training plan for him. However, on the first day of training, Zeno was stunned. Killua's talent was already amazing, coupled with the tenfold nun training improvement added by Killer God is Alive Black Entry. His training speed has reached an incredible level. From being proficient in the basic 4 elements to mastering and applying the more advanced ones. Zhou, Yin, Yuan, Lu Jian. Killua only took 1 day. His speed is jaw-dropping. Are you kidding? It took only 1 day to basically master the advanced nun techniques. This freak is simply not from the same world as us. If this matter gets out, I'm afraid the whole Hunter world will be shocked. In the Zoldyck mansion, as Killua's second brother, Miji, Zoldyck, while eating snacks, is monitoring the training ground through the camera. Miji is a hardcore fat otaku who is very proficient in computers. He doesn't like Killua, but he recognized Killua's talent from the bottom of his heart. He was shocked again. Who could be as shocked as Zeno, who personally taught Killua? It's ridiculous. As the previous head of Zoldyck, Zeno had seen many masters, and he also believed that his understanding of genius had reached a very high threshold. But the shock Killua brought to him now, it was no longer simply described as dumbfounded. Killua's talent was so high, not to mention that it was rare in the secular world. Even the training and hard work that should have taken more than 10 years seemed so redundant and boring. Even including the old monster hunter, he had never seen such an exaggerated qualification. "How is it, old man? My training speed is okay, right?" Killua wiped the sweat off his face and asked with a smile. "Can it?" Zeno twitched his mouth. "More than just can it. If you can't, then there will be no geniuses in the whole world," although he thought so in his heart. But Zeno said calmly, "It's okay. Don't waste time. Now continue to use Jian until all the ki in your body is exhausted." Jian, Chan plus Lien. That is, continue to use Lien to stimulate a large amount of ki in your body, and then use Chan to wrap around your body. This can effectively defend against the opponent's high-intensity and continuous attacks. In theory, if you want to fight against a high-level nun, you must at least ensure that Jian can be maintained for more than half an hour. The party that first releases Jian is basically equivalent to losing defense, and it is easy to be seriously injured or killed. I have to say, even if my talent is far superior to that of ordinary people, it is very difficult to maintain Jian for a long time now. 20 minutes passed. Killua's legs and feet seemed to be tied with lead blocks. His calves and eyelids trembled, and the fatigue pressed on his whole body like a broken dam. He held on until the last bit of energy was exhausted. Killua immediately sat down and held his breath, allowing himself to enter the state of Ju, and began to quickly recover his energy. Wait for the mental power to recover. Then use up all the nun power through continuous training. Then recover and then use it up. This will not only help you get familiar with the advanced use of nun faster, but also increase the upper limit of the nun power in your body. It is the simplest and most effective nun training method. Your current limit is to maintain firmness for about 20 minutes. After reaching the limit, even if you want to increase the time by 10 minutes, even a genius will spend a month. Your talent is stronger than that of an average genius. I'll give you half a month. After half a month, I will come to check your training results. You must not relax. As an active assassin, Zeno still has a mission to complete, so it is impossible for him to supervise Killua's training 24 hours a day like a nanny. And regarding the early training of Nun, it takes a lot of time to practice hard, so even if he is here, it is difficult to be of much help. Of course, because of this, even Zeno would never have thought that in just half a month, Killua would have undergone earth-shaking changes. On the second day of training, Killua could already maintain the state of firm for more than 30 minutes. In the original work, it took on a full month to reach this point. Although there is a tenfold training buff, it is enough to show how amazing Killua's talent is now. In addition to deepening the basic skills, Killua also began to practice hard, the advanced application skills that will be combined with the 5 skills of entanglement, absolute, practice, emission, and condensation can also be said to be a killer move. He has a lightning resistance physique. Killua was also the first to study the use of Conjurer to change the properties of Ki and transform Ki into lightning. It was the 4th day. Killua was already able to easily transform lightning, and at the same time, he could condense his mind power into various forms at will. Whether it was a sharp blade or a solid shield, it could be formed instantly in a thought. The 7th day, Killua began to try to integrate the effects of Enhancer, Transmuter, etc. into lightning, and in this training that completely drained all physical strength, energy, and potential. Half a month passed in the blink of an eye. Came to the training ground. Looking at Killua, who was meditating, Zeno patted his back and said in a gentle way, "Killua, the charm of mind is not only the high-intensity destructive power and defense. There is also the infinitely changing Nun game. So you must not only improve the total amount and skills of mind, but also be proficient in the actual use of mind. Come on. Today's training is actual combat. Use all your strength to attack me. just in time to verify the results of your training in the past half month. Killua came out of the state of absolute upon hearing this, scratched his head, and showed a trace of hesitation on his face. Old man, do you really have to use all your strength? To be honest, the results of recent training have been quite fierce, and the speed of progress makes him feel a little incredible. After all, although it is only 15 days on the surface, but with a tenfold training bonus, he has been training for 150 days. Killua is a little worried that he will accidentally cause unintentional damage. Don't worry, my old bones are still very strong. Just come at me. Zeno stretched out his right hand behind his back and hooked it forward, his eyes full of confidence. Then I will go all out. No nonsense. Killua took a deep breath. The whole person's momentum changed. He first used Conjurer to transform Ki into lightning, then through hard entanglement, absolute, training, release, condensation. The Ki surged and accumulated on the right arm. In an instant, dazzling lightning flashed on Killua's arm like dancing silver snakes. The surrounding airflow also became turbulent due to this powerful energy. This is the first move none developed by Killua using Conjurer, because it is similar to Kakashi's signature skill in Naruto. He also named this move Thundercut. New book release, asking for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thinks here, every flower is very important. Chapter 7. Thunderball. Explode. Combine Transmuta plus Conjurer. Raikiri. Accompanied by the sound of electric current, Killua rushed towards Zeno like lightning with a heart-pounding destructive power. The lightning struck at high speed and drove the surrounding airflow, leaving ripples wherever it passed. This amazing momentum not only shocked Zeno, it also instantly attracted the rest of the Zoldyck family. How is it possible? If he didn't know clearly that Killua had known none before, Zeno would never believe it. There are people in this world who have only studied for half a month and reached such an incredible level. What kind of talent and potential is beyond imagination? Boy, you really opened my eyes, but this level is not enough. You are still far away. Facing this lightning strike, Zeno used firmness to wrap the Ki around his chest, still looking calm. Afterwards, Killua was like encountering an insurmountable barrier, blasting out all the power of Raikiri, and did not let Zeno retreat a step. This kid, although he blocked the Raikiri, he could feel a slight numbness in his chest. Zeno was shocked, but his heart was still surging like a storm. You have to know that as the previous head of the Zoldyck family, his resistance to lightning has been trained to an inhuman level. His overall strength is undoubtedly top-notch in the entire hunter world. Even if it only causes a little damage to him, it is enough to make many ordinary people feel proud of the masters. Raikiri was blocked. Killua did not stop at all, and swept Zeno's neck with a strong electric current in his right hand. Avoid close combat. Zeno kicked his toes and quickly shot to the side, intending to distance himself first. But almost at the same time, Killua raised his right hand like a pistol. Ki began to condense at his fingertips, and then the bullets transformed from Ki, kept chasing Zeno and shooting. Because of the black chosen item, Killua can exert 100% effect in each system. The biggest feature of Transmuter is that it can release the energy out of the body and still maintain its power. You actually developed a second move, and your mind is a conjurer that changes the nature of energy. If you practice Transmuter, it should only be 60% effective. How can it be so powerful? Zeno watched as each bullet of mind fell, causing sand and gravel to fly, and his inner shock rose to another level. This is obviously not the level that a new nun should have. The most terrifying thing is, he has not taught Killua how to develop nun. This talent is really amazing. As the battle unfolded, around the training ground, Silva, Kikyo, and his wife, including Wudong and other housekeepers, also gathered one after another. Watching everything happening in front of them, Kikyo's eyes widened, her heart pounding, and her face was full of disbelief. She couldn't believe it. In just half a month, the baby son who was regarded as a gifted person by him has grown to this point. Xiaoqi, you are really great. The Zoldyck family will definitely become famous again because of you. Kikyo clasped her hands tightly in front of her chest, her body trembling slightly with excitement. She was full of enthusiasm and pride, and she was completely immersed in the infinite reverie of Killua's future achievements. Silva's expression was not much different. He looked at Killua intently, his chest unconsciously thrust forward, and his eyes flashed with surprise and excitement. Master Killua, Wudong and others were also completely shocked. As Zoldyck's butler, each of them is a nun master. Naturally, they also know, in half a month, how exaggerated is it to reach Killua's level from scratch? Old man, be careful. In the training ground, a group of nun bullets larger than the previous ones gathered at Killua's fingertips. The air mass flashed with dazzling lightning, and it seemed that a miniature lightning storm was raging inside. This is a killer combo he developed using Transmuter plus Conjurer, because it is shaped like a big ball. Killua called it Thunderball. Boom! The Thunderball flew towards Zeno like a cannonball. Across the training ground, Zeno's pupils shrank slightly, and his clothes were blown rustling. But he was a veteran after all, and he predicted the flight path of the Thunderball in advance, and then quickly dodged it. But just as he passed by the Thunderball, Killua suddenly said, "Thunderball Stage 2, start." The next moment, the Thunderball exploded violently. The real killer move of the Thunderball is not on the surface. It is that it can explode at the right time, turning all the ki into fine needles and releasing them in all directions. This is a super killer move that can be used for both single and group attacks. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. The powerful electric current spread wildly in all directions like a rain of pear blossom needles. The dazzling electric current light instantly submerged Zeno's figure. Everyone was also shocked by the sudden explosion. Combined, it took half a month to reach this point, Silva muttered to himself, and the wrinkles on his face became deeper because of extreme shock. Wu Tong and other housekeepers hurriedly stood in front to prevent Silva and his wife from being hit. It's just a pity. When the smoke and dust cleared, Zeno was still standing there steadily. At this moment, he was wrapped in a golden dragon condensed by ki. The dragon was lifelike, hovering around Zeno, protecting him tightly, and he didn't suffer any harm at all. This is Nun, Dragonhead Play painting, although Killua had been avoided from being arrogant before. But at this moment, Zeno couldn't hold back because of the battle anymore. The corners of his mouth slightly raised, and he said in shock and excitement, "Killua, I must admit, among all the people I have seen, no one's talent can be compared with yours." Seeing that the Thunderball was completely ineffective, Killua frowned, but was not beyond his inner surprise. After all, the total amount of their thoughts is not at the same level now. It is too difficult to break the defense. But the fun of Hunter World lies in that. Even if there is a huge gap in strength, there is still a way to win. In that case, then I can only use the last trick. Killua looked solemn, his eyes revealing determination and firmness. The next moment, first a wisp of electric current, then a strand of electric current, quickly moved all over Killua's body. The current became more and more dense. The surrounding air seemed to be ionized by the current, making a crackling sound. Killua stood in the center of the lightning. His eyes were firm and cold, and his hair was also frizzy under the action of the current. This is... The Silva couple narrowed their eyes. Zeno also cheered up, but at this moment, an unexpected incident occurred again. Killua's ultimate move was just halfway loaded, and it ran out of power. Oh no! Because of insufficient thought and conversion efficiency. Many of Killua's current killing moves require a large amount of electricity to be stored in the body in advance before they can be used and explode with greater power. Now there is no electricity, no telekinesis, and the blue bar is used up. This is very embarrassing. Old man, how about we do it another day? But Killua hasn't finished speaking. Zeno raised his finger slightly. The golden dragon opened its huge mouth at an incredible speed and bit him tightly. Boy, you've been making trouble for a long time. Now it's my turn to massage you. Zeno pulled with his right hand, and the golden dragon instantly dragged Killua back, and a terrifying smile appeared on his face. New book release. Please give me flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The The author thinks here, every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day on the 11th. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 8. Continue to practice hard. After nearly 3 years of hard work, break out again. This old man is really bad. Nothing unexpected happened. Killua was finally taught a lesson by Zeno in this assessment. But at the same time, through this actual combat, he also had a clear understanding of his current strength, and the subsequent plans became clearer. Although I can already use none skillfully, but there is still a lot of room for improvement in the total amount of none, including the development of nin skills and the ability to use none to deal with complex situations. Killua calmly analyzed his own situation. At the same time, he warned himself in his heart that it was not the time to go out and collect entries. After all, the outside world is too vast. There are countless unknown dangers, and there are more powerful people than him. An opponent of the same level as the brigade. Killua would definitely find it difficult to deal with and contend with him now. He knew that he still had many shortcomings at present. Life is only once. He didn't want to fall into an unmanageable dilemma because of momentary excitement and blind self-confidence. I'll stay in seclusion for 3 months first, as long as I make full use of the advantage of the 10x training buff. Become a top nin master. That's only a matter of time for me. Killua secretly made up his mind, his eyes revealing determination and persistence. Thinking of this, Killua looked at the Silva couple. Dad, Mom, don't let anyone disturb me recently. I plan to stay in seclusion and practice seriously for a while. Silva had no objection. Unlike other people in Zoldyck who attached great importance to skills and physical training, Silva's training of Killua was more spiritual. He encouraged Killua to have his own ideas, rather than being imposed by others. Only this kind of teaching method can help him become a truly strong man who can stand on his own. Not to mention that Killua's current talent is too amazing. It is almost certain that he will become a strong man in the future. Such an exaggerated talent and potential. It must not die or fall before it grows up. Needless to say, Mom Kikyo's eyes sparkled with excitement. Xiaoqi, go for it. We support you unconditionally. Killua looked at the butler next to him. Wudong, starting tomorrow, you will be my actual combat opponent. Zeno is currently like a towering mountain to Killua, and it is still an unattainable height. And Wudong is an actual combat opponent. It will not make Killua feel completely unable to compete, but it can also bring enough pressure and challenges to encourage him to constantly break through himself. It is more suitable for him to dig out the power and potential hidden deep in his body. Wudong was slightly stunned. He first looked at the Silva couple, then a few gold coins popped out of his hand, and a solemn and resolute expression appeared on his face. Master Killua, I am happy to serve. Seeing that Killua's subsequent plan was to continue to choose hard training, Zeno also revealed a touch of appreciation in his eyes. You didn't get carried away by your performance. Very good. This calmness and caution will definitely allow you to go further in your practice of mind. Zeno's eyes were full of expectations for Killua's future. After the actual combat training with Zeno, Killua locked himself in a closed and spacious room, except for the occasional actual combat training with Wudong. Every day, he was focused and devoted himself to the practice of mind, practicing various moves over and over again every day, repeating the recovery and consumption of the mind, and feeling the various experiences in the practice. And it was under such hard practice. 3 months passed in the blink of an eye. The day of coming out of seclusion. This is how it was recorded in the major events of the Zoldyck family in later generations. From that day on, the strongest talent of Zoldyck truly showed his terrifying fangs. The first stage of practice is over. I don't know how strong I am now. When Killua slowly pushed open the door that had been closed for a long time, the sunlight poured down, making him squint slightly. Although this time he was only in seclusion for 3 months. But with the blessing of the Black Entry, it was almost equivalent to 3 years of hard practice. 3 years of hard practice can change too many things, especially in the hands of a genius like him. Tongzi, open my personal information. Killua finished speaking, and the data panel appeared in front of him. Name, Killua, skill, assassination. Nun practice level, excellent. Entries, invulnerable to all poisons, lower blue level. Electricity resistance, lower purple level. God of Killer, black. Lucky mid-level green. Looking at the data panel, Killua's eyes suddenly lit up. Not bad, not bad. While practicing Nun, the electricity resistance entry was also upgraded to the purple level. In addition, a new data appeared. Nun practice level. This data should be as low as possible. The 4 levels of Nun practice. Excellent, excellent, gifted, and extreme. This is an overall evaluation of Nun practice by different Nun players, and does not refer to the opponent's combat power. To put it simply, it can be imagined as the degree of development of the Nun player's own talent. Excellent represents the initial development of one's own talent. Extreme represents that the ability user has reached the pinnacle of his own talent, a person with limited talent. Even if the Nun is developed to the extreme through hard practice. But when facing an opponent with only excellent practice but extraordinary talent, he will still be crushed. This is the gap in talent. My current level of development has only reached excellent, which means I still have a lot of potential. And because of the 10x training buff of the black entry, I can realize my potential quickly, which is so cool. The benefits and strength of the entry system. Killua has now felt it, and has developed a yearning for other entries. After all, the hunter world requires not only hard power, but also soft power. Many Nin only need to meet the conditions. Even if their hard power is strong, they may still be defeated. And after 3 months of hard training, Killua's strength has been improved to a very terrifying level. It's time to collect more entries. The update of 10,000 words ends today. Kill all the way. The main attack is decisive. The neck-twisting technique is invincible. New book release. Please give flowers. Please give evaluation votes. There are monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Happy reading every day on the 11th. Top up 100 and get 500 VIP points. Top up now, event time, October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 9. Attack, the first advanced mission, Yuk Exine. In the main mansion of Zoldyck, Zeno and Silva are discussing a new hunting mission. Zeno. The Nasra family wants us to eliminate Jianji, who is also a gangster boss. Although the difficulty of this mission is only B level. But Jianji is a direct subordinate of the 10 old men, and the forces behind him are complicated. Once we take action, it may trigger a series of chain reactions. Plus, the Ukexan auction is approaching. Taking comprehensive considerations, the level of this mission should be between B level and A level. Silva sat in a large chair with a serious expression. It is most appropriate for Ilmi to take action on this mission. It's a pity that he and Killua are still carrying out another mission and can't get away for the time being. Zeno just decided to personally carry out this mission. But at this moment, a voice suddenly came from outside. "Old man, leave this mission to me." Then the door was gently pushed open, and a silver-haired boy appeared. It was Killua. 3 months of retreat. Killua's figure has become much taller, and his temperament has changed dramatically. The immaturity of the past has been worn away in these 3 months, replaced by an aura that cannot be ignored. "Killua, have you finished your retreat?" Silva raised his eyebrows slightly, shocked and delighted by Killua's changes. Zeno's eyes were full of scrutiny. "This mission level may be close to A level. Are you sure?" Missions above B rank almost always involve multiple Nun, and the difficulty of the mission increases sharply. And the first rule of Zoldyck's house rules: you can only carry out the mission when you have the ability to complete the mission 100%. Killua did not speak, but chose to prove it with action. He held his breath, closed his eyes, and opened them again, and a strong telekinesis suddenly burst out from his body. This energy was like a surging wave, instantly filling the entire room, and then spreading in all directions at an incredible speed. It spread for nearly 50 meters before stopping. This is the high-level ability of the mind, using energy to perceive everything within the range of the circle. In 3 months, it has grown to such a level. Zeno and Silva were shocked by this strong energy. Although the size of the circle is not the only criterion for judging a person's ability, it is possible to cover the radius of the circle more than 40 meters, which is basically the first-class hunter level. It's really an eye-opening talent. It seems that during this period of time, you have made a qualitative breakthrough. But the power of mind is not as simple as the strength of ki. Zeno raised his right hand, and a golden dragon condensed by ki bit wildly from the air. He planned to test Killua's strength again. But what was shocking was, Zeno had just made a move. Killua, who was standing at the door just now, disappeared without a trace in an instant, as if it had disappeared out of thin air. Behind you! Almost instantly, Zeno turned around with his killer's keen sense of smell and caught a figure. But the next moment, he only felt a flash of lightning in front of his eyes, and Killua's figure disappeared again. At the same time, the paper with the task information on the table also disappeared. Then, Killua's figure appeared far away outside the door, and his voice of leaving came, "Old man, don't waste your energy. Although my mind may not be as good as yours. But if I want to leave, no one can stop me now. Leave this task to me with confidence." Looking at Killua's departing figure, Zeno's eyes were filled with shock. What speed did this kid just have? And Nion has already reached the level of a first-class hunter. It's incredible that he has reached this level in just a few months. Until now, Zeno still couldn't believe that someone could be so talented. Killua was like the sun, so dazzling that even a being of his level felt a little unreal. But anyway, with that speed, plus a circle that has reached 50 meters, even if facing a top-notch master, Killua will have no problem staying alive. Silva picked up the phone, but after all, it's the first time to perform a mission of this level. Just in case, let's notify Alumi and let him take care of it when he's free. Zeno nodded. That's best. In the Zoldyck courtyard, Kikyo asked the butler Wudong, "Wudong, tell me, what level has Killua's current strength reached?" Unlike Silva and Zeno, Kikyo's protection of Killua has reached a more morbid level. He will never let Killua embark on such a dangerous mission before he grows up. Recalling Killua's incredible growth in the past 3 months, Wudong pushed his glasses and answered very sincerely, "If Killua is going to fight me to the death, within 10 breaths, I'm afraid I will die." As the chief steward of Zoldyck, although Wudong's strength is not up to the top hunter level, it is considered to be in the upper middle level in the Hunter Association. With such strength, he can't survive more than 10 breaths in Killua's hands. But it happens. He admitted this himself. Kikyo knew that Wudong had no need to deceive himself, and a bright smile instantly bloomed on his face, screaming excitedly, "Oh, my little Ki, you are really great. You are indeed the supreme gift from God to our Zoldyck family." Kikyo folded his hands tightly against his chest. His electronic eyes flashed red, and the corners of his mouth could not hide the excitement. Zoldyck main gate. Killua pushed open 5 trial doors as high as 64T. He looked very relaxed and obviously still had some strength left. Thinking back to 3 months ago, he could only push 16 tons of weight, but now his strength has increased several times. This terrifying speed of improvement. I'm afraid few people would believe it if I told them. Push open the door of trial. Killua stepped on a skateboard and slid down from Kokula Mountain along the tourist route. At the same time, he began to study the details of this mission. Nasra, Jinji, these two are the subordinates of the 10 old men. And if I remember correctly, this Nasra leader's daughter Nion has the Nun of Prophecy. The reason why Killua took the initiative to take this task. On the one hand, it was to test the results of his own practice. On the other hand, it was for this Nion. He knew the value and potential danger of the ability to predict. This ability can create infinite possibilities. Killua would never let it fall into the hands of Phantom Troop like the original. Let's go cook first and then write. New book release, please give me flowers, please give me evaluation tickets, and I have monthly tickets. Please vote for all readers. The author would like to thank you. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time, October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 10. Encounter with Phantom Troop. The crisis is rising. Ukexin, a metropolis where treasures from all over the world gather, and where dangers and opportunities coexist. Auctions and flea markets gather here, and it is prosperous and decadent. It is the place where all treasures are concentrated. It is also the area with the most gangs in the world. The top of the order among the gangs is the 10 Old Men. They are the high-level organization of the underworld group in charge of the underground auction, and are the supreme leaders of the underworld forces in 6 continents and 10 regions. And Killua's target of this mission, Jinji, is a small leader under the 10 Old Men. Tomorrow, September 1st, Ukexin will hold an underground auction, and during the auction, Jinji will participate in the underground auction as a buyer, and will be responsible for the security alert around the venue. Arrived at Ukexin by airship, Killua first bought a city map, and then began to prepare for the hunt. Although Jinji himself is mediocre, he is not to be feared, but most of the gangs in this world will hire none as guards at high prices. None are all kinds of strange, and every detail may determine success or failure. And the annual auction is coming soon, and gangs from all over the world will flock to it. By then, the entire Ukexin will be occupied by gangs. The complexity of the situation may exceed my expectations. I must formulate a detailed action plan as soon as possible, including the target location and the best evacuation route. Killua focused on studying the map and mission information, and his thoughts were surging in his heart. He knew the darkness and cruelty of this world. It's better to be cautious about everything. While thinking, suddenly, 3 unique and powerful auras appeared not far ahead. Killua looked forward. The man walking in front had no eyebrows, short blonde hair, a strong body, and was wearing sportswear. Behind the blonde man on the left, following a short and sturdy man with skin as pale as white paper and a skull painted on his cape. On the right is a blonde with big BBS wearing a deep V female professional suit and a devilishly perfect curvy figure. Looking at the faces and iconic body clothing of these 3 people, Killua is very familiar with them. Phantom Troop, thinks Phaeton Paknon. Why are they here too? Killua's brain quickly and methodically analyzed the current situation. Soon, he figured out the reason. Although according to the original drama timeline, at the auction next year, the Spider Troop will gather at Ukexin. But as greedy and profit-seeking thieves, robbing is their job and hobby, even without Krallo's order. The many treasures at the auction every year are a huge temptation for them. They will naturally not miss such a good opportunity to rob treasures. I don't know if it's just Finks, Phaeton, and Paknoten, or has the rest of the Phantom Troop come to Ukexin? Whatever. Let's focus on my mission first, and we'll talk about other things later. Killua put his hands in his pockets and walked forward as if nothing had happened. His steps were steady, but his body remained highly alert, ready to respond to any unexpected situation that might arise. Killua had no good feelings towards the troop, nor did he have any hatred at the moment. As a killer, he is even more reluctant to do meaningless and loss-making business. But if the other party is looking for death, then he doesn't mind sending the brigade away. Killua now has absolute confidence in his own strength. The 2 sides passed each other safely. Just after a few dozen meters away, Paknoten suddenly looked back at Killua's back and said, "That kid just now should be a professional killer." Phaeton had a blank expression and said in a gloomy voice, "It is likely that he is. When I passed by him just now, even if the distance is so close, his footsteps still made no sound. It is a very advanced assassination technique. Without extremely rigorous training, it is impossible to practice such silent steps." Fink snorted coldly and said disdainfully, "Even if he is a killer, it's just a kid. Just don't get in our way. If you dare to provoke us, just get rid of it." Fink's eyes are full of confidence, even conceited. Phaeton's eyes are even colder to the extreme. Phantom Troop is the most notorious gang of thieves in the world. Each of its members is a skilled nun-user. They are ruthless and have committed many crimes around the world. They are known for their cruelty and recklessness. Speaking of which, gangsters from all over the world will come to Ukexin in the next 2 days. There are only 3 of us. Do we really want to carry out theft activities here? It is better to take a long-term view, compared with the cruel Phaeton and the nervous Finks. Phantom Troop is generally responsible for interrogation and information collection in the brigade. He is a support type of rational person. Finks crossed his arms and looked nonchalant. What are you afraid of? We are not robbing openly. After the auction is over, wait until those rich people relax their vigilance. We will kill people and rob them directly. When we leave here, who can do anything to us? Phaeton looked gloomy. Anyway, I am only responsible for killing. Phantom Troop took out a coin and threw it into the sky, then covered it on the back of his hand. Phantom Troop prohibits infighting among members. No matter what disagreements there are between members, they will be resolved by flipping a coin. Finks grinned, straight. Paknoten opened his palm, and the coin faced up. Finks excitedly waved his fist. Ha, it seems that God is on my side. Phaeton watched coldly from the side without saying a word. Paknoten's face was gloomy. I don't know why. She always feels a little uneasy recently. That feeling of uneasiness spread in her heart, as if some unknown danger is approaching quietly. Is my intuition wrong? Paknoten thought to herself. No, so many years of experience tell me that this feeling will not be without reason. However, Finks and Phaeton did not think there was anything wrong, or they were too confident in their own strength. Paknoten could only pray silently in his heart. I hope this is just a false alarm. New book release. Please give flowers. Please give evaluation votes and monthly tickets. Please vote for all readers. The author would like to thank you. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 11. Prophecy, a Deadly Situation. Ukexen. Bikita Hotel. All the members of the Nasla gang stayed here. At this time, in the hotel lobby. Right Nasla, who had just arrived at Ukexen by spaceship, was talking seriously with the captain of the guard, Dazoni. Hey Nasla, long time no see. A short and fat man in a suit greeted him in a mocking tone. Hearing this familiar and annoying voice, Nasla raised his head, and a trace of disgust flashed in his eyes. It was Jianji who greeted him. In the gang, although Jianji and Nasla are both leaders second only to the 10 old men. But because Jianji is a direct subordinate. In addition, Nasla has only risen in the past 2 years, no matter in terms of qualifications or gang strength. He has been suppressed by Jianji. Why? Are you so unhappy to see me? Seeing Nasla remain silent, Jianji continued to sneer. Not long ago, you were just a small leader in the countryside. Now you are not only on an equal footing with me, but you also dare to look at me with such a face. How lucky! If I could also have a daughter who can tell fortunes. Talking about his own daughter, Nasra seemed to be offended, and his face instantly became gloomy. He was very cunning and didn't want to tear his face here, but he also retorted, "Your jealous face is really ugly." Jinji's face froze when he heard this. He always disliked Nasra, who relied on his daughter to make a living. He flew over and pressed Nasra to the ground, punching him in the face one after another. Without your precious daughter, would you be here today? You are just a waste. No one will look down on you at all. Sooner or later, they were having a great time fighting. Dazoni grabbed Jinji's wrist. What a pity. Jinji didn't give him a good look at all. Let go. You are just a hired lackey. You have no right to touch me. Dazoni clenched his teeth, but he was also hesitant. As he said, although he is a nun, but with his ability and background, he is indeed not qualified to attack a gangster boss like Jinji. While hesitating, Jinji shook off Dazoni's wrist and punched Nasla in the face again. Be careful when you talk next time. If there is a next time, it's not as simple as beating you into a pig's head. After a beating, Jinji coldly threatened and turned away. Boss, are you okay? Dazoni helped Nasla up. Nasla waved his hand, endured the pain on his face, and stood up slowly, looking at Jinji's back as he left with a laugh. Nasla was not only angry, there was also deep disdain. These guys can't change their incompetence. They can only watch me succeed and do nothing. They don't understand the current situation at all. And after tomorrow, he won't be able to laugh anymore. Dazoni was stunned. He obviously knew that he heard something he shouldn't have heard. At this moment, Nasra also showed the style and skills of a gang leader. After returning to the room from the hall, he first wiped his face with medicinal wine and then said without hiding, "I have hired a killer, and I am going to kill Ginji tomorrow." Although Nasra's tone was very ordinary. But when he heard this, Dazoni was shocked at first, and then he was moved and determined. According to the gang rules formulated by the 10 old men, it is clearly stipulated that the gang is strictly prohibited from internal fighting. Once there is a violation, it will be ruthlessly killed, and there will be no room for leniency. And Nasra dared to say such a thing to his face. It can be said that he gave Dazoni great trust. Such an absolute trust can easily make people trust, and even willing to fight for everything. Oh no! Dazoni clenched his right fist and pounded it heavily on the palm of his left hand. Suddenly, he remembered something. Yesterday, many leaders such as Lofeli and Dolink asked the young lady to make predictions. One of them was Ginji. I just sent out the prediction results this morning. Nasra's daughter Nion has the ability to predict the future, and the accuracy rate is almost 99%. In other words, after receiving the prediction results, Ginji is likely to know that he will be assassinated. Dazoni broke out in cold sweat on his forehead. Boss, if Ginji sees the prophecy, he will definitely be on guard. Not only will the assassination plan fail then, and will the prophecy indirectly expose your information? Nasra frowned, but soon regained his composure. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter even if he has a warning. Because the killer I hired this time is Zoldyck. Hearing these 3 words, Dazoni was shocked at first, and then fell silent. Zoldyck, the world's #1 killer family. Although the true appearance of the family members is little known, but all the underworld knows. Each member of Zoldyck has incredible assassination abilities, and unless the assassination target or employer dies, as long as you take the task, you will basically complete the task 100%. You can say that. Except for the high price, there are almost no disadvantages. At night, Nasra stood in front of the window, looking deeply at the tall buildings in the distance. Just as Ginji said, he was able to reach the current position of a small leader at a rocket-like speed within half a year. It was precisely by using the predictive ability of his daughter Nion. Because of this, he was very afraid of losing his daughter. He was very worried that the partners he had framed before would retaliate against him in the same way, and he was afraid that people like Ginji would take away everything from him. This is also the reason why he would be put to death, even if he might be found out to be guilty of internal strife. The most important thing in this era is intelligence. As long as you can use your predictive ability freely, let alone reach the status of the 10 old men, even changing the world in the future is not a fantasy. Nasra's eyes were full of ambition. His eyes flashed with a firm light, as if he had seen the glorious scene of himself standing on the top of the world and controlling everything. At the same time, and in different places. In another luxury hotel, after taking a sauna, Ginji opened the paper with the predicted results. And then, the next moment, Ginji was sweating profusely. His eyes were full of fear and disbelief, and his face was extremely pale, reflecting the moonlight. You can see 4 sentences clearly written on the paper. In a storage area full of dark goods, death will descend on your head. You will lose the most important thing and be forced to sleep forever. This is the fate you can't escape no matter how you hide. New book release. Please give flowers. Please give evaluation votes and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time, October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 12. The hunt begins, starting with a raid at the auction. On the day of the day, in the magnificent Semitali building of Ukexin, the highly anticipated underground auction house opened as expected. Inside the venue, there are cameras everywhere. Fully armed guards can be seen everywhere. In addition to the guards composed of members of various gangs, the area within a radius of 500 meters outside the venue is strictly governed. The strict security measures make the entire auction like an impregnable fortress. Such watertight control can not only isolate all unstable factors and ensure the smooth progress of the auction, It is also for the gangs to show their strength and confidence. The underworld pays the most attention to face and pomp. In their world, face is a symbol of dignity and cannot tolerate any contempt or offense. Once the face is damaged, it is a great shame. At the same time, in different places, the square next to the Cemetery building, a sweet and lovely girl complained helplessly. It turns out that if you want to enter the auction, you need a gangster participation certificate. If you delay any longer, you will be too late to participate in the auction. I finally got rid of the bodyguard. Hate it, what should I do? This person is the daughter of the Nasra family Nion. The underground auction is opened by the gang. No one can enter without a participation certificate. Nion muttered, stomping her feet on the ground, and her bright eyes were full of anxiety and helplessness. As a gangster daughter, Nion likes human body and organ specimens. She has a special hobby that ordinary people don't have, and such rare items are only sold in underground auction houses. But because of her special status in the family or for protection, Right Nasra didn't let her get in touch with the outside world too much. Even if she went shopping, there would be multiple bodyguards following her. When Nion was worried, a voice appeared behind her. "Miss Nion, if you want to enter the auction, I can help you." Nion turned around after hearing the voice. I saw a silver-haired boy with a smile on his face, holding 2 tickets in his hands. It was Killua, who wanted to sneak into the auction directly, but stopped because he found Nion on the way. Compared with the original work, Killua is much taller than an ordinary 12-year-old boy. Although there is still childishness on his face, he has already left the appearance of a child. "You are." Nion's eyes lit up when she looked at the tickets, but she was still alert in her heart. Killua made up a story on the spot. "I am a member of the Lantry family, and I have been helped by your father, Mr. Wright, before. I just passed by here and heard your request. It just so happens that I have an extra ticket in my hand," although Killua's words were full of loopholes. But because he was not very experienced, Nion can be said to be very simple. She blinked her smart big eyes, and her vigilance in her heart was not completely eliminated. But the temptation of the ticket was too great. "Really? Thank you so much. I'm really troubled that I don't have a ticket. Just don't tell my dad." "Killua." "No, you're welcome." At the same time, Killua's information began to appear in front of him. Name? Nion. Nin training level? Excellent. Excellent, excellent, talented, extreme. Entry. Angel's automatic notes read. Angel's automatic notes. Read it can predict what will happen in the next month in the form of abstract poetry. The prediction is presented in the form of a quatrain, and each line of poetry represents the fortune of a week. Read entry. Sure enough, although this Nion's prediction ability cannot cause direct damage, the entry level is very high. Entry color. It does not necessarily represent immediate combat power, but it represents potential and value. And predicting the value of the future. It is obviously very terrifying. 10 minutes later, inside the Metali building, because the underground auction has not started yet, Killua and Nion are sitting on the 2nd floor and drinking tea. By the way, this year's security force is really exaggerated. In addition to not being allowed to enter 500 meters near the auction, the building is also full of dense guards. Killua looked at the interior of Metali and couldn't help but sigh. "It wasn't like this before. I don't know if it has something to do with the killer." Nion said casually, "I heard from Dazo that there will be a killer at the auction today, and he told me not to go here. But there are so many gangsters here. How can a killer dare to do it here?" Nion was very proud. "I think it's another lie made up by my dad to prevent me from going out. Fortunately, I'm smart and resourceful. I secretly got rid of the guards while shopping for clothes." The killer? Killua narrowed his eyes. Dazoni is Nasra's confidant. The assassin he mentioned is most likely himself. But as a hired hand, Nasra would not reveal his information voluntarily, let alone temporarily strengthen the guard of the auction for this matter. That is to say, except for the Nasra family, someone may have used some ability to predict what will happen today in advance. And after that person learned the news, he was able to temporarily strengthen the guard. The target is obvious. Killua smiled. "Ms. Nion, I heard that you are very good at divination. Has a leader named Jinji asked you for divination recently?" Nion pointed her index finger at her chin and tried to recall. It seems that there is. That's it. No wonder Jinji's whereabouts were completely unavailable when entering the hall. Killua's expression suddenly became serious, since Jinji knew in advance that he would be assassinated at the auction. He is probably not in this building now. No, he must still be there. Killua's brain thought quickly, after all. Now the defense force around Semitol is fully deployed, which can be said to be impregnable. Looking at the entire Ukexin, there is no place safer than here now. If I were Jinji, where would I hide in this building? At this time, there are none in the Semitol building. If the circle is used for a ranged search, it is easy to alert the enemy and attract other people's attention. Think for a moment. Killua quickly stood up. Miss Nion, wait for me here for a while. I'll go to deal with things first. Nion, yeah, I'll wait for you here. At this time, Nion was still immersed in the joy of being able to participate in the auction, so she didn't care about other things. Leave the hall. Killua quickly walked backstage. The safest place in the entire auction must be the place where the auction items are placed. But there must be the most powerful security force in the entire auction, and the difficulty of assassination can be imagined. New book release. Please give flowers. Please give evaluation votes and monthly tickets. Please vote for all readers. The author would like to thank you. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 13. Miraculous speed, kill them all in an instant. Underground auction warehouse. This is the core of the entire auction, where countless precious and rare items are placed. And at this moment in the warehouse, Jinji is sitting in it, but his body is trembling slightly, and his eyes are full of fear and helplessness. That embarrassed look is in sharp contrast to his arrogant appearance on weekdays. Whether rich, poor gangsters, or others, no matter what your identity, status, or age, there is only one thing that is fair. That is death. Obviously, after learning that he was predicted to die, Jinji's inner defense line was on the verge of collapse. At this moment, the door of the warehouse was suddenly opened. A man with sunglasses and a mustache walked in. Brother Jinji, don't be so scared. Even prophecies may be wrong sometimes. Jinji heard the voice and slowly raised his head. The next moment, in his extremely dim eyes, a glimmer of hope and light suddenly flashed. Beast Owl. Jinji stood up excitedly. As the gang leader of 10 regions in the 6 continents, the 10 old men have thousands of gangsters. Among the many subordinates, the most powerful thugs are the 10-member group of Nun Beast. They all have unique skills and possess mysterious none beyond ordinary people's imagination. They are the sharpest weapons in the hands of the 10 old men. The man named Xiao pulled down his sunglasses with his index finger, revealing a pair of smiling eyes. Your call for help has been received by the 10 old men. To protect your safety and maintain the normal operation of this underground auction, including me, a total of 5 Beast members came here. They are also lurking in every corner of the auction at the moment. Don't worry. With us here, there will be absolutely no accidents. Said. Xiao looked at the mountains of precious treasures in the warehouse, waved his hand, and threw out a huge cloth out of thin air. The cloth fell quickly like a dark cloud, covering the auction items tightly. The next moment, it was like a magic trick. The auction items that were originally piled up like a small mountain were shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye, until they finally disappeared without a trace. In case of any accidents, these auction items should be kept by me for the time being. The corners of Zhao's mouth rose, revealing an extremely proud smile. Seeing such a magical scene, although Jinji did not dare to be completely careless, but he also breathed a sigh of relief, and his tense nerves were somewhat relieved. The power of Beast is well known in the gang. In this time, 5 people were directly dispatched. With them, this crisis should be able to pass safely. Just thinking that Nion's prophecy has almost never been wrong. Jinji added the word right. This crisis should be able to pass safely. Right. At the same time, Killua had also touched the vicinity of the warehouse. He used Ju to hide his breath at all times to avoid being discovered. At the same time, he also found out that Jinji was indeed among them through the inadvertent conversations of several guards. Finally found this guy's whereabouts. But there are many guards here, and there are surveillance cameras outside the door. If we do it openly, I'm afraid it will cause revenge from the 10 old men. The underground auction house is held by the global mafia organizations. The mafia is most concerned about face. To do it here, it is undoubtedly equivalent to slapping them in the face. Although Killua is not afraid of the mafia, but the bounty for assassinating Jinji this time is only 2 billion. This price, it is not enough to make enemies with the mafia all over the world. Killua looked at the switch next to him, and a plan came into his mind. The switch here should be connected to all the circuits on this floor, as long as it causes a power outage. Both the surveillance and the guarding force will be temporarily useless. Killua silently calculated in his mind. If we want to do it here, I must break through the guards within 30 seconds, find Jinji and kill him with one blow, and then evacuate quickly. Otherwise, I will cause unrest. I will probably be surrounded here. Killua took a deep breath, memorized the position of each guard, and closed his eyes to get used to the darkness in advance. He kept rehearsing the upcoming action in his mind, and then suddenly punched into the switch, grabbed all the lines, and tore them directly. Afterwards, the whole floor fell into darkness and chaos. And at the same moment when the lights went out, Killua was like an arrow from a string and instantly appeared in front of the nearest warehouse guard. The guard had not yet reacted and only felt a gust of wind blowing in his face. And then his eyes went black and he lost consciousness. There are 6 more. At this moment, Killua showed the strength and skills of a top killer. Taking advantage of the guard's discomfort caused by the sudden loss of light, he was like a ghost in the dark night. Within 3 seconds, he killed all 7 guards silently. What's going on? What happened? Seeing the lights go out in the warehouse, Jinji and Xiao immediately came to the door to check. But before they could reach out, the anti-theft door, made of special alloy, made a loud bang as if it had been hit by a huge force. Then a big hole was directly opened in the center of the door. Don't kill me. Seeing the prophecy coming true, Jinji, who was already highly nervous, sat on the ground like a frightened, trapped animal, almost peeing in fear. Who is it? Xiao also sweated profusely. He knew that it was not an ordinary person who could have such destructive power, so he quickly used condensation to gather the energy in his eyes. But just as he moved, there was a click. That was the sound of a neck being broken. Jinji, who was originally screaming in panic, instantly lost his voice. Owl's heart suddenly shrank, and he immediately used Nion, incredibly convenient large wrap, materializing a huge wrap and throwing it forward. I didn't expect the Een beast to appear here. Looking at the huge cloth covering him, Killua whispered, "Godspeed." Then, strands of blue arcs began to interweave and shuttle through Killua's body, wrapping him up. This is one of the techniques he has studied for 3 months. Godspeed, using control system to wrap the power of lightning in the body to activate the body, thus stimulating the potential power of the body, raising his movement speed and nerve conduction speed to the limit. Under the effect of Godspeed, Killua was so fast that he seemed to turn into an arc and appeared in front of Owl in the blink of an eye. His right hand instantly became sharp and stabbed the opponent's heart with a strong electric current. Feeling the strong wind pressure coming towards him, Owl's pupils contracted sharply, and his chest rose and fell violently. He wanted to avoid it, but his sight couldn't keep up, and his body couldn't react at all. Later, Xiao finally saw the figure of the person coming. It was a young man, but the silver-haired boy still had a beating heart in his palm. And there was no blood on the heart. This whole process was not only sharp and swift, but also the killing method was so exquisite that it could be said to be an art. Thanks to all the brothers for the flowers. I've already got up and started preparing for today's update. Come on, have fun reading every day on the 11th. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 14. Huge Harvest. The magic pocket is in hand. While killing Xiao, Killua quickly scanned the opponent's data panel. Name, Xiao. Nin training level, talent. Excellent, excellent. Gifted extreme. Entry. Incredible convenient large wrap. Purple top. This guy's none has been developed to the level of talent. However, this not only shows that his qualifications are average. At the same time, the ability of the large wrap is too simple and direct, and the development prospects are really limited. Killua was thinking, the entry, incredible convenient large wrap, purple top, fell from the top of Zhao's head to the ground. Ding, lootable entry detected, incredible convenient large wrap, purple top. Do you want to loot? Yes/no? Hearing the system prompt sound, Killua did not hesitate. Start looting. The next moment, the entry turned into purple light and merged into Killua's body. At the same time, the detailed explanation of the use of this entry's ability appeared in front of him. Incredible convenient large wrap, purple top level. It can materialize a huge bag. Any object covered by this cloth can be instantly shrunk and packed, no matter how big it is. And even living things can be captured. It can even capture living things. What a great thing. Although Killua has long known that Owl's Nun has a packing function. But when he really got this ability, he still couldn't hide his excitement. In Killua's view, even if this large wrap is not used as a means of combat, it is a very abnormal existence as a travel pocket. With this Nun, when he goes out in the future, he can not only carry food, but also medicine. All kinds of strange things can also be put in. This will definitely give him more security and convenience on his future journey, just like carrying a mobile treasure box like Doraemon. At the same time, after the entry is fully integrated, Killua feels that he has mastered a different space. This is the inside of the convenient large wrap, which is as big as a house. And when he looks into the space, he was stunned, because all the goods in the entire underground auction are in it. FK. This time I'm really rich. Killua's eyes widened, looking at the piles of items in the alien space in disbelief. From precious jewelry to rare antique paintings. From medical supplies to weapons and equipment. Human organs, war supplies, munitions, all kinds of strange things are available, which makes people dazzled. Although this year's underground auction did not have super rare and high-priced items like Greed Island, but so many things added up. The estimated value is probably at least tens of billions. It's really a pleasant surprise. This trip to Yuk XN is really not in vain. Killua was full of excitement. He glanced at the two bodies in the warehouse indifferently, turned around, and quickly disappeared into the darkness, as if he had never appeared here. And a minute later, the backup power supply was connected in the building. After seeing the bodies on the ground and the empty warehouse, suddenly, all the gang members gathered in Semitali were like powder kegs, bursting with endless anger. Everyone immediately blocked the entire auction venue, and don't miss any possible exit. Search for me. The murderer must be found today. In addition to the murderous roars of the gang leaders, the other four Beast members, Earthworm, Sick Dog, Porcupine, and Leech also rushed to the warehouse. Compared to Xiao, his appearance is still normal. The other Beast members all looked very strange. The Porcupine looked like a bald, short, fat boy. The Sick Dog had a hedgehog hairstyle, was thin, and had a mouth full of sharp teeth. The Leech was bloated, pot-bellied, and had a sinister smile. As for the Beast, named Earthworm, it was almost naked, with a big belly covered with blue veins, and looked even more terrifying. After the Beast arrived at the scene, everyone else immediately quieted down. Ow! The Sick Dog screamed and hurried forward to test his breath. What a pity. At this time, the owl was already dead and could not die anymore. Except for a big hole in the chest, the rest of the body is intact. Even the clothes are clean, and there is no sign of struggle. The Earthworm, who looks like a human, calmly analyzed, just from the wounds and the situation at the scene. I'm afraid Xiao died from a frontal attack, and it was a fatal blow, and the opponent's murderous aura disappeared in an instant, leaving Xiao completely unable to counterattack. He must be a very professional killer. A fatal blow from the front, and there is no counterattack ability. Listening to the Earthworm's analysis, not to mention other gang members, Sick Dog, Porcupine, and others also frowned. As we all know, frontal attack is the easiest to react, and they know Zhao's methods better than anyone else. He was killed in one encounter, This result really made them unwilling to believe. However, this impossible fact was in front of them, leaving them with no ability to refute. At this time, Leech set his sights on the warehouse door and reached out to explore it. This door is made of a special alloy, and its hardness exceeds all the materials on the market. Even if it is hit by a car, it is difficult to deform it, and the opponent can break the warehouse anti-theft door in an instant. I'm afraid it's an enhancer nun with a very high level of practice. Compared to Leech and Earthworm, the Een Beast Porcupine has been staring at the empty warehouse in a daze. Not an enhancer nun. I think it should be a manipulator ability user similar to Owl. It may even be a trait ability user. Otherwise, it's impossible for him to take away all the auction items in the warehouse without anyone knowing. Listening to the analysis of several people, the sick dog clenched his teeth and the muscles on his cheeks bulged with anger. Enhancer, manipulator, and trade again. What are you kidding? How can a person always have so many none? Just after saying this, the sick dog himself was stunned. The others also fell into deep thought instantly. Although it is basically impossible for one person to use multiple types of abilities. But there are indeed rumors that there is a person who can do this. And that person is from the notorious Phantom Troop. Leader Krallo, Earthworm frowned. Is it really Phantom Troop who came to the auction? Porcupine said. Phantom Troop has committed vicious crimes many times around the world. It is also in line with their behavior to rob the auction. Leech remained silent. The whole atmosphere became a little depressing, as a high-risk, A-level criminal. The name of Phantom Troop is also very loud among the gangs. Sick Dog said in a deep voice. No matter what, we can't let Xiao die in vain. If we don't get the auction items back, it will be difficult to report to the 10 old men. Even if it is Phantom Troop, we must make them pay for their blood debts with blood today. New book release, please give flowers, please give evaluation tickets, and monthly tickets. Please vote for all readers. The author would like to thank you. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 15. The situation escalates, and a winning gamble is made with Nion. Sematali Hall. The scene was in chaos. A large number of gang members came and began to investigate and interrogate all the people participating in the auction, investigate their backgrounds and whereabouts, and look for suspicious people, including staff, buyers and sellers, on-site surveillance videos, etc. Greed and determination flashed in the eyes of each gang leader, and they were eager to find the murderer's figure and movement trajectory first. After all, the current situation is not only a crisis. It is also an opportunity. Whoever can find the murderer who killed Jinji and the lost auction items will definitely get a higher status and more benefits from the 10 old men. This chaotic investigation. In fact, it is also a competition for power and interests. Ms. Nion, what happened? Killua had returned to the hall at this time, pretending to be calm, and asked Nion. Nion frowned, with a layer of doubt on her cute face. I don't know either. I just know that an emergency investigation suddenly began in the hall, and they made a mess here. Killua remained calm on the surface, looking around calmly. Don't worry. Wait until they investigate it clearly. Maybe it's just a misunderstanding. I hope it won't affect the auction. Nion supported her chin with both hands and sighed. I hope so. I just want to participate in the auction, but I don't want to be involved in other troubles. Not long after, the investigators also came to Killua and Nion. Name, identity, and take out your participation certificate. The gangster in charge of the interrogation stared at them sharply, with a very unfriendly tone. Each participation certificate has a special number. If the investigation continues, it's only a matter of time before the two are exposed. Nion unconsciously clenched the corners of her clothes, a little nervous. After all, she sneaked in. Killua's face was very calm, but his expression changed, and he took the initiative to say, Open your eyes. You don't even recognize the eldest lady. This is the daughter of the Nasra family. Killua's voice was full of anger and majesty, and his eyes swept the gang members in front of him sharply. Nion was shocked by this sudden momentum, but she quickly reacted, straightened her back, and put on a lady's airs. The gang member in charge of questioning was also stunned. Then he showed hesitation on his face and didn't know what to do for a while. Killua took advantage of the victory and said, "Why are you still standing there? Is there a place to rest quietly here? Take us there quickly. If the eldest lady is hurt in the slightest, ask the people in the upper level if they are willing to take this responsibility." Several gangsters called the leader. There was a moment of silence on the other side. No way. Among the 10 old men, including many leaders, they are very dependent on this girl. Take them to the VIP room for entertaining guests. Get the instructions from above. The gang members in charge of interrogation immediately stepped aside to make way and led them to the VIP room, while apologizing with a smile. "Sorry, I offended the young lady. Please don't blame me, young lady." Nion controlled her breathing until she entered the VIP room, and then she patted her chest with lingering fear to take a breath. "I was really scared just now, but fortunately you were there. By the way, I don't know your name yet. What should I call you?" Killua smiled slightly. "My name is Killua." Nion looked out the window. "Killua, thanks to you this time. I just don't know what will happen to the auction next." All the goods in this auction are now in Killua's hands. The auction can no longer continue. Killua sat on the sofa and took a breath, looking at the increasingly chaotic situation outside. The auction may have to be temporarily suspended. Announced suspension. Nion was a little depressed. What bad luck. I finally came out. Taking advantage of this short leisure time, Killua asked, "Miss Nion, why do you like fortune-telling?" Nion was stunned and raised her head slightly. "This should be related to the fortune-teller named Grandmother Galaxy that I often watched on TV when I was a child." The fortune-teller said, "Divination is one of the ways to make people who are working hard to live now live happier. At that time, I thought fortune-telling was so cool. So I always dreamed of becoming a fortune-teller, and I only predicted the bad things that everyone would encounter. In this way, in order to avoid bad things, everyone will work hard in the right direction." Talking about these, Nion's eyes sparkled with brilliance, and she subconsciously immersed herself in beautiful memories. So that's it. Everyone's nun is indeed related to personality, preferences, and life experiences. Killua was thinking about everything in his heart and suddenly asked with a smile, "Miss Nion, how about we make a bet? If you win everything you want in this auction, no matter how rare or expensive the item is, I can find it for you. If you lose..." Killua paused slightly. "You have to agree to one request of mine. Everything in this auction." Nion's eyes lit up and asked excitedly, "Does it include Princess Korko's mummy?" "Of course," Killua answered without hesitation. "Then what are we going to bet on? If I can't do it, I will never agree to it." Nion crossed her arms and looked at Killua with a vigilant face. "Don't worry, this is what you are best at." Killua smiled slyly. "Let's bet on whether you can predict my future. New book release, asking for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading during the National Day holiday. Top up 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Top up now. Activity time, October 1st to October 7th, Chapter 16. Who framed us? Phantom Troop was inexplicably blamed. On the highway, a black car was speeding towards Semitali, with Nasra and his personal guard Dizoni sitting inside. As expected of Zoldyck, the mission has been accomplished. For gangs like us, killing people is just one of the means of intimidation, not our specialty. It is more appropriate to leave it to professional killers. After receiving the information from the auction site, Nasra's frown relaxed a little. "By the way, has Nion been found?" Dizoni shook his head. "I just talked to Skavara and Shachimono on the phone. Since the young lady disappeared, they ran all over the shopping mall, but haven't found her yet. But I have a hunch. Maybe the young lady is already in the Semitali building. Except for the auction. I can't think of anywhere else she can go." "What did you say?" "Went to the auction." Nasra widened his eyes, and his voice unconsciously raised a few points. Dizoni was a little confused. Nasra suppressed his anxiety and said, "In the message I just received, except for Jinji's death, all the goods in the auction disappeared. According to the judgment of many beasts, It is suspected that Phantom Troop appeared at the auction site. Phantom Troop, hearing this name, Dizoni couldn't help swallowing his saliva. As the most notorious thief gang in the world, Dizoni naturally heard of it. He knew that everyone in this gang was ruthless and cruel, and they caused bloody storms wherever they went. I didn't expect Phantom Troop to appear here. And even the Ian beasts have been dispatched. It seems that the situation in the auction is not optimistic now. Nasra's forehead also broke out in cold sweat, and he quickly picked up the phone and called again. I'm like, Nasra, is my daughter at the auction? Check it out. The guard who answered the phone was the one who was in charge of the search. Miss Nion is resting in the VIP room. Nasra roared, make sure my daughter is safe. I'll be there soon. Hang up the phone. Nasra's face was full of confusion. Nion is really at the auction, but how did she get in? It stands to reason. She shouldn't have a chance to get a certificate. Does the young lady have any friends in other organizations? Dizoni asked. Nasra shook his head. No, except for divination. She never cares about outside affairs and work, and she doesn't have any friends. Said. Nasra punched the chair. Damn it. What if Nion is involved in the trouble of Phantom Troop? Boss, please stay calm. Dizoni comforted. Let's wait until we reach the auction venue. Inside the Simitali building, the investigation is still going on. At this time, the news that the auction treasures were all looted by Phantom Troop has also spread among the gangsters. After hearing this news, 3 people in the building suddenly felt nameless anger. These 3 people are Finks, Phaeton, and Pakloten. Phantom Troop took away all the treasures of the auction? What a joke! We haven't started yet. Who is throwing this dirty water on us? Oh, let me know which guy put this crime on us. I must break his neck. Finks gritted his teeth, and anger almost burst out of his eyes. Phaeton's eyes were also full of murderous intent. What should we do now? It's easy to break through the blockade. But if we leave like this, wouldn't that be a crime of killing and stealing treasures? This kind of thing, I don't want to be blamed for nothing. As the team's IQ representative, Pakloten said, the best way now is to find those Ian beasts who spread rumors. Ask them in person. But this building has 30 floors, and it will take a while to find them. It's easy to find them. Phaeton poked his hand into the chest of a gang leader on the right with an expressionless face, and then shook off the blood on his hand nonchalantly. Let them come to us. Finks also twisted the heads of several people next to him and said excitedly, that's exactly what I want. Instantly, everyone around was stunned by the cruel actions of the two, and screams and shouts instantly filled the entire hall. Pakloten rubbed his brows, and the cruelty under his rational appearance could no longer be hidden. I really can't do anything to you. But this is indeed a good method. Let's kill them first, then let those evil beasts come to us. New book release. Please give flowers, please give evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading books every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now, activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 17. Cruel Law of the Jungle, Killing Spree. The battle was about to start. Many gangsters also began to hold machine guns and hot weapons, and ruthlessly fired at Phaeton and the other two. But the gap between ordinary people and none is huge. Bullets can't break through the defense of none at all. Let's compete to see who kills more. Finks laughed and waved his thick arms, breaking several people's necks every time he shot. Okay, let's send all these garbage to hell. Phaeton relied on his agility to stroll in the rain of bullets, and the sharp blade in his hand ruthlessly harvested lives like mowing grass. Pakloten is not a professional fighter, but he is also like a man in the gangster group. For a while, the whole building was full of screams and gunshots, blood splattered, and it was completely in a bloody chaos. Killua, what happened outside? In the VIP room, Nion looked at the chaotic scene outside through the window, and her beautiful eyes were full of anxiety and fear. Although she is the daughter of a gangster, but she has always been well protected like a greenhouse flower and has never encountered such a bloody massacre. From the situation, it is probably some desperate people who broke into the auction. Killua also heard that the Ian Beast had attributed the loss of the auction items to the Phantom Troop. combined with the fact that Finks and Phaeton suddenly started killing. The connection is obvious. It turns out that the Ean Beast thought I was the Phantom Troop. And it happened that Finks and the other two were really at the auction, and they were blamed for nothing, so they naturally couldn't stand it. That's why this farce happened. Killua thought quickly. This may be an opportunity for me. Let them fight each other. Not only can I take the opportunity to get away, but I can even get some benefits. If Killua remembered correctly, although the Ean Beast group is not at the first-class level, but it is not that weak. Many of them can cause damage to Uvigen with Enhancer fully activated, which is incomparable to ordinary none. As Phaeton and Finks killed crazily, the resistance of the gang members in the building became weaker and weaker. Fear spread among the crowd like a plague. Some people even began to disobey orders and flee everywhere desperately, trying to avoid these three terrifying existences like demons. Finally, the Ean Beasts also came to the front battlefield, feeling the unique momentum in front. Paklotan raised his head and reminded, "Get ready, the main force is coming." Finks and Phaeton stopped their actions, their eyes full of excitement and expectation, waiting for a head-on confrontation with the Ean Beasts. Not long after, the Earthworm, Sick Dog, Porcupine, and Leech all came to the hall, looking at the gangsters who were still eager to try. The Earthworm advised, "Back off. Although you are numerous and some of you seem to be able to use telekinesis, it is better not to attack. Those guys are not ordinary thieves. Killing is common for them. With your strength, you can't hurt them at all." The Sick Dog looked at Phaeton and the other two and asked sternly, "You are from Phantom Troop, so there are three of you. Which one is Krallo? Where is the auction item? And who killed Owl? It doesn't matter if you don't answer. As long as you meet us, you will all go to hell today." Facing the confident death sentence of the Sick Dog, Finks was not afraid, but became extremely excited. "Great, I like people like you who are not afraid of death the most." Phaeton looked at Paklotan coldly. "Do you want to leave him alive?" Paklotan looked at the Sick Dog. "Just leave the guy with sharp teeth. But before the interrogation, let's change the battlefield first." Since they started the indiscriminate killing, more and more gangsters gathering towards Semitali. Although these forces are unlikely to pose a threat to them, they don't want to waste too much time on this. "You so-called Ean Beasts, if you have the guts, follow me." Finks sneered, pointed his thumb outside the building, turned around, and rushed out the door with Phaeton and Paklotan. "Don't let them escape." Sick Dog, Earthworm, and others looked at each other and followed without hesitation. Both sides were very confident. They all thought they were hunters, and the other was the prey. At the same time, outside the Semitali building, a black car just stopped. Nasra and Dazoni quickly got out of the car. "I wonder how Nion is now." Nasra was full of worries about his daughter, tidied his clothes, and strode towards the entrance of the auction. Dazoni frowned, because he smelled a pungent smell of blood. "Boss, wait a minute," Dazoni shouted anxiously. Unfortunately, it was too late, because they ran into Phaeton and his three companions who had just rushed out of the building. "This is—" Dazoni raised his head. His eyes met Phaeton's cold eyes. At this moment, Dazoni felt a wave of malice sweeping over him, and the air around him seemed to freeze. Under the gaze of those eyes, it was as if all his weaknesses were seen through. It was as if his hands and feet were trapped by chains. Depressing. Horrible. Even if he just moved his fingers, he would have to spend several times more energy than usual. Dazoni felt that his breathing was getting more and more difficult, and his heartbeat was beating like thunder in his ears. Just a gasp. Drops of cold sweat poured out from his forehead. What the hell? This guy's eyes are surprisingly scary. Nasra swallowed his saliva and prepared to ask the other party where he came from. Phaeton narrowed his eyes slightly, waved the black umbrella in his hand, and his face was full of indifference. The next moment, it was as if he had crushed an ant to death. Red blood spurted out from Nasra's neck, forming a shocking arc in the air. "Ah, Nion!" Nasra's face was full of disbelief and fear. He covered his neck with both hands, trying to stop the blood from gushing out. But it was all in vain. In the end, he could only watch the building fall down unwillingly. "Don't block the way. Go to hell." At the same time, Finks also stabbed Dazoni's chest and abdomen with a knife. There was absolutely no power to resist. This was an absolute power gap that could not be countered, like a tank crushing infantry. The two bodies slowly fell down, and their lives disappeared in an instant, leaving only a dead silence and fear. Killing two people at will, Finks and Phaeton did not stop at all, and their faces were still expressionless, as if they had just done something insignificant. There was no arrogance, yet it seemed so high and mighty. Get up and start updating. New book released, asking for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for data. The author thanks you here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day during the National Day. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Recharge now. Activity time, October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 18. 9. If you just want to risk your own life, that is totally not enough. Dad! Nion saw this scene and rushed from the VIP room to her father, lying in a pool of blood. Then her legs softened. She fell heavily beside Nasra. Nion's hands trembled violently, and she couldn't believe the cruel reality in front of her. She would do divination for Nasra every month. This month, because the underground auction was about to start, her mind was completely occupied by the auction items, and she hadn't done divination for Nasra yet. Dad, wake up! You can't leave me! Nion's petite body trembled slightly, and her hands tightly grasped Nasra's lifeless wrist, as if this could pull him back from the brink of death. Tears also burst like a flood, flowing on her face full of grief and despair. The hall was full of corpses, and the smell of death was everywhere. Blood and coldness intertwined. Nion kept calling her father, and every sound was full of heartbreak and helplessness, until her voice became hoarse. Her tear-stained face was filled with only blazing hatred and uncontrollable grief. Family affection and gratitude are the strongest chains in the world. Many people were controlled by others because they were helped when they were young, or just because of blood ties, and they could not escape the bondage of gratitude and family affection throughout their lives. But family affection is also the fastest knife in the world, especially when you witness the death of your loved ones with your own eyes. It is a kind of unforgettable pain, like a sharp blade, piercing straight into the softest part of your heart. The unspeakable sadness and despair will drown you in an instant. In this extreme pain, all the arrogance and innocence will be ruthlessly torn apart in an instant, replaced by rapid growth and maturity. I must make those murderers pay. At this time, Nion no longer had the innocent look she usually had, and there was only desperate determination in her eyes. She first looked at the gangsters around her. Everyone lowered their heads and dared not look at her, or just pretended not to hear and looked elsewhere. Nion looked at the other members of the Dazoni guard team who had come over, Shachimono Dokino and Skavara. Shachimono is an emitter nun. His ability is to use nun to create 11 combatants, named the 11 under the eaves. Shachimono's voice was full of helplessness and guilt. Miss, I really want to help you, but those people are not the ones I can hunt down at all. We will just die in vain if we go. It will be useless. Nion did not answer, but turned to look at Skavara. Skavara is also an emitter, but his ability is to control dogs to help him complete tasks, and he is an information-oriented person. In terms of combat power, he is not even as good as Shachimono. Not to mention hunting down Phantom Troop. Skavara's eyes looked at his nose, and his nose looked at his heart, and his eyes were full of helplessness and guilt. Nion finally stared at Killua with tearful eyes, his eyes full of pleading and helplessness. Killua didn't avoid his gaze, nor did he speak. Nion seemed to be grasping the last straw, crying, Killua, I can't let my father die in vain. Killua squatted down and gently wiped the tears from Nion's face, saying gently but coldly, Nion, I can feel your pain. But what are you willing to pay to help your father get revenge? At this time, Nion's body was still shaking, but Killua's words finally gave her a little bit of support. As long as you can help me get revenge, I will pay you 1 billion, no, 10 billion. In her world, still naively think that money can solve everything. Killua shook his head slightly. No matter how much money is in this situation, it is worthless. Nion trembled and said, What do you mean? Killua's eyes were cold. You also saw the strength of those 3 people just now. They kill people like drinking water. Not to mention the average good players. Even the skilled non-users will find it difficult to save their lives in their hands. And if I want to help you get revenge, even if I have to bet a lot of things. So money alone is not enough. You have to take out something more important. Nion looked surprised, still puzzled. Killua gently stroked Nion's face and said faintly, if you only want to use money as a commission, whether the mission fails or succeeds, you can still be your daughter here. You can play with your favorite antiques every day, eat delicious food, and live a very comfortable life. I won't do it. On the contrary, Killua's eyes suddenly became sharp. If you are willing to bet on your hobbies, your dignity, and everything you have, including your life, and you have to remember this from today, you owe me more than just one thing. It's 110,000. Then I will break the family rules and bet for you once. Zoldyck has never been an ordinary killer who is only interested in profit. Their first house rule is that they must never take on a mission that puts them in extreme danger. And they want to hunt the notorious Phantom Troop. This is naturally full of danger. Although Killua is different from Illumi, a killing machine without emotions, but he cherishes his life more. Unless it is necessary, he will never put himself in danger. Of course, he has a heaven-defying entry system. Killua is not afraid of anyone. He is not a coward who escapes when he encounters a strong man. It is just a matter of how much it costs. The people around are all looking at Killua. They don't know who this boy is, nor do they know why he dares to speak so arrogantly. But one thing is certain. At this moment, everyone feels it, although Killua is just standing there. But his whole body exudes a powerful aura that is enough to devour people. The air around him becomes heavy because of him, making it difficult to breathe. Nion clenched his fists, touching the cold and lifeless Nasra. The last trace of willfulness also disappeared completely. She bowed her head to Killua, as if expressing her determination. The two of them also formed a kind of oath in an instant. Then, Nion tightly grasped the corner of Killua's clothes, her eyes blurred with tears, and tremblingly said, Killua, help me. Protect her. Killua looked at Skavara and Shachimono. The two nodded. Then, before anyone could react at all, Killua took a step forward. The next moment, a flash of lightning. In everyone's sight, his figure was completely gone. New book release, asking for flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Have fun reading every day on the 11th. Recharge 100 and get 500 VIP points. Recharge now. Activity time. October 1st to October 7th. Chapter 19. Super Melee begins. Secretly eliminate a member of the brigade first. Leaving the cemetery building, Killua followed the breath of the Ean beasts, like a ghost in the dark night, and quickly shuttled through the streets. His footsteps were as light as feathers, although the speed was fast. But every time he landed, there was almost no sound. Whether it was a narrow alley, the shadow of a tall building, or the gap between the crowds. Killua could also cleverly use the surrounding environment to hide himself. As a professional killer, tracking is one of his specialties, and he was free from the constraints of the venue. He was finally able to stretch his body and no longer had to be as restrained as before. Finks, Phaeton, and the other two have been making trouble in the building for so long, and there was no support from other Phantom Troop teammates. There should be only 3 of them. If you want to do it, I will find a way to kill all 3 of them. At this moment, Killua fully demonstrated the patience and instinct of a top hunter. While he was in the state of absolute, he kept running at a high speed and followed the figures of the Ean beasts. At the same time, he began to simulate everything that would happen next in his mind. His heartbeat remained steady, his breathing was even and long, and he did not disrupt the rhythm because of nervousness or excitement. Regarding taking on the hunting brigade mission halfway this time, Killua did not have a heart of pity and compassion, but had his own plan. Through the bet with Nion before, he had already concluded that the prophetic ability could not predict his future. So instead of plundering the entries, it would be better to directly subdue Nion to become his helper. Although Zoldyck is powerful, even if he will be the head of the family in the future, But whether it is Silva, Old Man Zeno, or even the more terrifying Maha ancestor, they are obviously not willing to obey anyone's command. In other words, because of the unique family operation method, Zoldyck can be regarded as Killua's backer, but it does not belong to the force he can command at will. After coming to the hunter world, Killua has a strong desire in his heart. He wants to establish his own force, an organization that is completely controlled by him and can act according to his wishes. Nion with the ability of prophecy. Naturally, he is the first member he wants to recruit. In addition, many of the ability terms of the brigade are the goals he must take down in the future. Whether there is today's change or not, there may be a battle in the future. There is no pure good and evil in this world. Killing and being killed. These two extreme behaviors cannot be simply measured by right or wrong here. It's like in a vast jungle. Powerful beasts rely on their own strength to prey on weak animals at will. This is an eternal law. The law of the jungle not only exists in the natural jungle, but is also reflected in the hunter world. In this world, don't talk about killing. Even if you kill innocent people indiscriminately, you will not be subject to moral pressure and condemnation. If you have a hunter license, then you can even make killing fair and square in 90% of the world. So, Killua has no sadness for Nasra's death. At the same time, he has no pity for Jianji, who died in his hands, including hunting Phantom Troop, because they have nothing to do with him. And this is the most common and most naked survival of the fittest in the hunter world. Not to mention that the opponent is a demon who enjoys killing people. God Desert. This is a wasteland in Ukexin City. At this time, Finks, Phaeton, and Pat Cloten stopped first. Sick Dog, Earthworm, and 4 others followed. Finks moved his neck and arms and stood in the front. Let me deal with all these people. You'd better not interfere. Finks is an enhancer nun. The most important thing for none of the same level is information warfare. Facing unknown opponents, enhancer nun with thick skin and flesh are generally the most suitable for charging into battle. Under the seemingly reckless appearance of Finks, there is an unknown delicacy hidden. Finks, don't think about having fun alone. I'll deal with 2 of them. Phaeton's figure is thinner than a normal person, but there is a cold light flashing in his narrow eyes, and the terrifying aura emanating from his body makes people dare not underestimate him at all. Finks turned her head and glanced at Phaeton with a smile on her face. Then each of us will take half. Let's see who can kill faster. Phantom Troop consciously retreated to the back. Her abilities are mainly responsible for interrogation and information collection. She's not good at fighting. She only needs to be ready to deal with emergencies at any time. On the other side, seeing the 3 Phantom Troops, she didn't take them seriously at all. The Earthworm stood on the hill and said condescendingly, "Don't be so arrogant, thieves. Now the people who have no way to escape should be you." As he said, the Earthworm quickly exchanged glances with the Sick Dog and the Porcupine. The Earthworm flashed and plunged directly into the mud, disappearing in an instant. The Sick Dog grinned, revealing sharp fangs, and let out a low roar in his throat. The Porcupine's hair stood up, ready to launch a fatal attack at any time. The Leech began to confront Phaeton alone. It was different from the 1v2 situation that Phantom Troop wanted to have. The Beast strategy was to let Leech hold back the thin Phaeton alone. The Earthworm, Sick Dog, and Porcupine first surrounded Finks, who seemed to be stronger, and then the 4 of them worked together to secure the victory. You guys think you can beat me? It's a foolish dream. Looking at the Beast that was aiming almost all its spears at itself. Not only was Finks not afraid at all, but he laughed out loud. Phaeton looked at Leech with disdain. What a pointless struggle. While the battle started on the front battlefield, Killua hid in the dark and pulled out a piece of black cloth out of thin air. Convenient big wrap. It was the nun that was looted from the owl before. Then, Killua kept getting closer to Paklotten. His movements were light and agile, almost silent. Paklotten's sight and attention were completely on the 4 beasts at this time, and she didn't realize that the danger was approaching from behind. When she reacted, the whole person had been covered by the black cloth, and then began to shrink like the black cloth, and disappeared without a trace in an instant. The ability of this beast owl is really practical. With this trick, not only can you carry items, you can even secretly take people away. Killua grabbed the black towel, wrapped around Piclotin, and quickly hid himself again. And according to his test, the world inside the towel is connected to the outside world, and the air can circulate normally through the gaps in the towel, so there is no possibility of suffocation. This is a super travel backpack. Another super cage that cannot be escaped. There's at least one chapter today. New book release. Please give flowers, evaluation votes, and monthly votes. Please all readers vote for a data. The author thanks here. Every flower is very important. Chapter 20. Trapped in a desperate situation, the mantis stalks the cicada, unaware of the oriole behind. It was already late at night. The moon was covered by dark clouds. Under the weak moonlight, the Goud Desert was filled with a heart-shaking silence. Facing the Yin beast that was rushing towards him with a double team. Fink's left arm was bulging with veins, and he threw a straight punch full of power and speed at the Yin beast porcupine. However, just before his fist was about to hit the opponent's cheek, the Yin beast porcupine's bald head suddenly grew long hair, like a spring to resist this powerful blow. How could it be? Finks was a little surprised. He ranked second in wrist strength in the brigade, only after Yuvajin, possessing a natural and powerful strength far beyond ordinary people. How could it be blocked by body hair? At the moment of his doubt, the porcupine's body hair, which was originally soft like a spring, suddenly stood up like a steel needle directly piercing Fink's fist and left arm. Oh, is that all you can do? Finks did not flinch due to the pain, but his eyes lit up with a stronger fighting spirit. He kept swinging his left arm vigorously, trying to break free from the porcupine's restraints. It's useless. Now thousands of my hairs have pierced your arm. Unless you cut off your arm, you will never be able to get rid of me again. Feeling Fink's resistance, the porcupine tightened those hard hairs even harder. If you can't get rid of it, then UBD, go to hell first. Finks roared loudly and swung his left arm towards the ground with all his strength, trying to smash the porcupine to death directly. But when he was about to fall to the ground, thousands of hairs flowed out from the porcupine's back, once again dissipating all the power like cotton. Don't waste your effort. I can control the hair on my body at will, and your power has no effect on me at all. The porcupine shouted proudly, and its small eyes were full of contempt and ridicule. At the same time at this moment, a pair of strong arms suddenly stretched out from the ground and tightly grasped Fink's feet. It was the earthworm, the most terrifying looking among the Yin beasts. Then there was a smack. Finks was dragged directly to the ground from his standing position, and his left face kissed the soil vigorously. Damn, this is... Finks tried to get up, but found that his legs were clamped tightly by the earthworm's huge power, and he couldn't move at all. His face was covered with mud, and he looked miserable. You have no way to escape. Underground. My strength can be increased several times. No matter how powerful the guy is, he can't escape. The dull voice of the earthworm came from the soil. At the same time, taking this opportunity, the sick dog dodged and bit a wound on Fink's shoulder. Is this guy really the Phantom Troop? He's not good at all. There was Fink's blood hanging at the corner of his mouth, and his eyes were full of contempt and provocation. UBD, dare to look down on me? I want you to die without a burial place. Fink's eyes widened, and the pupils burst into anger. Although he was an enhancer, Finks was far from being as reckless as he seemed. On the contrary, he was very experienced in combat and was very good at dealing with temporary crisis situations. They can actually hurt me with hair and teeth, and they can also defeat me in ground power confrontation. Too careless. These guys are really not simple. Finks was furious on the surface, but his heart had completely lost his contempt, and his free right arm began to rotate rapidly in a spiral. The next moment, strong energy gathered in his right arm, and in an instant it seemed to condense into a dazzling star. The light was dazzling, as if it could illuminate the night. "Come back!" Finks shouted, and his right arm, shining with golden light, attacked the ground with an unstoppable momentum. Not good. The sick dog and the porcupine distanced themselves in advance. But the earthworm, who could not see the situation on the ground at all, was not so lucky. Boom! The ground exploded instantly, sand, and stones flew, and the surrounding air was shaken by this force. The earthworm and the soil under its feet were directly destroyed. Idiot, you are the ones who have no way to escape. Who will die next? Finks roared loudly, and his momentum was still amazing. But suddenly, he seemed to lose his feeling in his arms, followed by his thighs and waist, and his whole body was paralyzed. What's going on? Fink's eyes flashed with astonishment, and he tried to struggle, but his body was completely out of control. You are such an idiot with strong limbs, but you are only this good. The sick dog laughed contemptuously. My teeth contain neurotoxins that can control your body and prevent you from moving freely. If I didn't intend to capture you alive, you would have died of the poison now. The sick dog said as he and the porcupine slowly approached Finks, with a look of triumph and arrogance in their eyes. Seeing this scene, Killua, who was still hiding in the dark in the distance, also sighed. The beast combination skills are really not simple. Interlocking. Without knowing the ability, as long as you are controlled by the first move, you will basically die. It's a pity that they are too arrogant. Plus, being in the gang, there are fewer opportunities for life and death compared to Phantom Troop, a thug who has been through the dead. The most important decisiveness is missing. Killua held his breath and knew that it was time for him to go on stage. On the other side, in the deep pit created by Finks, a black shadow suddenly smashed towards the porcupine and sick dog who were moving forward. The porcupine was terrified, because the black shadow was the head of the leech. The porcupine and sick dog were stunned by this sudden situation, and in this brief moment of distraction, a figure appeared behind them at an extremely fast speed. It was Phaeton. The next moment, a flash of silver light. The porcupine's head was separated from his body. The sick dog was about to move, but his two arms were cut off in an instant, and then a sharp blade was pressed against his throat. I advise you not to move. Phaeton held a red umbrella with a sharp blade hidden in it, and his voice was full of murderous intent. This is also the biggest weakness of many Nun. Too much reliance on Nun. As a result, physical skills are not up to standard. While Finks could not move his whole body and could only stand there and cheer. However, although he had completely mastered the situation, but Phaeton's expression,
No more novels? Take part in the voting. The most requested novels and those with the most likes will be chosen for publication on euroaudiobooks.com. There, I can upload as much as I want without the risk of receiving a strike. Our 18 novels and other content that exceed what is morally acceptable are only published on Patreon or the free novels page. Remember, the site is funded by donations on Ko-fi and Patreon memberships.